Welcome everyone to episode 2 of Mark Out of 10, where opinions mean everything and absolutely nothing at the same time. This episode we're going to discuss the top 10 most overrated stars, and stars in inverted commas, in the wrestling business. Doesn't need to be today, it could be of years gone by as well. First of all, I'm everyone's favourite sarcastic Scotsman, the curly-whirly connoisseur Shields, and let you introduce my co-host, the housewife's favourite heel, the Mackham Maverick, the one and only Hoxie. How we doing, Hoxie?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. I'm really, really excited for this. I think our first episode in the can was really good fun. Lots and lots of discussion and lots of feedback about that, which has been really cool. I'm bang up for this. I don't know about you, but I'm bang up for this. I think this is probably gonna cause more arguments between us pair than episode 1. So
I
I'm
think
bang up
so.
for it, mate.
Yeah,
It's been a good
absolutely.
week.
It's been a really good week.
We're all over it, mate. I'm ready, rocking, raring to go.
Yeah,
And I love the housewife's favorite heel, by the way. I'm all over that.
That's stolen.
All over that.
It
How are
just comes
you?
to me.
How are you,
Yeah,
Dougie?
I'm
What
not
are you
too bad. I'm the same as you, really. It's been a really good week. Sort of feedback we've got from like friends, family members, and members of the public that've actually listened. We've had not tens of hundreds, but tens of listeners on all like every podcast sort of area. So it's been crazy. It's very humbling, I think.
We didn't. This was a little peek behind the curtain for everyone, right? So we mentioned this last week, last show. We've been banging on about doing this podcast with each other for a long time, and we joke 18 months. It's probably longer than that, right? So, and we've done it not on a sperm of the moment or anything like that. We've done it. But do you know what? If we don't do it now, we won't do it. So let's just do it.
Yep.
So we didn't really like advertise this beforehand or like market it like, oh, Mark Out of 10 podcast coming, blah 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 blah, whatever. We've just done it, and we're like, right, let's get it out and have that many people listen to it. And you say tens of people in the podcasting world when this hasn't been marketed or advertised is amazing. I genuinely didn't think that would be the case. I thought like a couple of our mates would be like, yeah, it's really good, like, well done. It's been more than that, and it's been, as you say, it's been very humbling, but I'm really proud of it. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
a good week.
I agree, and I mean, again, a further peek behind the curtain. We're recording this on a Wednesday. It's probably going to go out on Sunday. We'll try and keep it to like a Sunday schedule. So it's been like 3.5 days because we released it like late on the Sunday, really. And like I say, having like 30 odd listeners like is crazy. It's doesn't seem like a lot, but for us, like you say, there's been no marketing at all. So it's it's been good. It's really exciting to see where it goes. And yeah, it's like we said, we've had feedback from obviously friends, family members, but we did actually get an email. So if you'd listened to the entire first episode, there was a little bit at the end where I came on in my dulcet Scottish tones and told you there is now an email address and obviously a YouTube channel. And we actually did get an official, like proper first email to the email address, which is awesome. So, and it wasn't just spam; it was actually real feedback. It's awesome. So, I'm just going to indulge me for a couple of minutes as I read out the email to you guys. So yes, it starts off with, "Hi guys, Paul here at Black Country T-shirts. Absolutely fantastic podcast. The in-depth knowledge you both bring is brilliant. It's like listening to Cultaholic or Pop Culture Wrestling for its overall production and presentation. Not Wrestle Talk. Wrestle Talk is a bunch of middle-class white woke twats who try to be funny, but are about as funny as HIV at a gangbang. Wrestle Talk is human dog shit. Anyway, let's talk in depth. It's wonderful to hear people talk about certain champions like Eddie Guerrero and have actually seen matches of them, and delve into those exact fond memories instead of hearing people quickly check a documentary on YouTube or to a Wikipedia check. It's not about being there at the time, but just good to hear people who know what they're talking about. It was also good to hear Hulk Hogan being regarded as high as you gave him, which is not only rightly deserved, but he really did change the game. It was nice to hear no one mention his racism, his personal life, etc., but concentrate on his worth, his value, and championship reign, brother. It was also nice to hear no mention of Bob Backlund. Though he might be a nice guy, but as champion, he must have created the term vanilla." Though he was a champion at WWE and his wrestling was very much under par, in fact, he was complete shite to be honest, I believe Vince McMahon needs a mention. I mentioned this previously on another podcast, but the importance Vince has had on the business is unprecedented. He may have bulldozed his way through the business, but he really catapulted wrestling into space, making it pop culture in the 80s, mega business in the 90s, going private in the 2000s to modern day rubbing shoulders with presidents and sultans of Arabia. He's that influential that the product of WCW, TNA/Impact, and AEW, and how Japanese and Mexican wrestling is transformed, it's all a direct descendant of Vince's blueprint. He's a cunt, no doubt, but he hasn't left a mark. He's left a legacy that will be talked about in the next 1,000 years. I can write for hours on this. I would have had Andre in there, but was he officially WWE champ? Anyway, wow, what a first episode. Can't wait to hear the next. Keep this up. You got a fan. Cheers, Paul. So,
Beautiful. Brilliant.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. So thank you very much to Paul for listening and the feedback. That's what it's all about, really, right?
Yeah, and that's not like it was really good. Thank you. Like see you next week. He's took. No doubt we're all very busy nowadays. So he's took time out of his very, very busy day to take a bit of time to send us an email, which I think is amazing. So thank you very much, Paul. Cheers for listening. I hope you want as much as you enjoyed the first one. So we got I feel like a bit of pressure now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we've set quite a decent bar, haven't we?
Big boots to sort of follow. Like, fair enough. We'll do good. Don't worry. We'll be all right.
Before we get cracked into the sort of wrestling talk, I suppose a little plug. If you've got any comments for us at all or topic suggestions, email us. We've got the email address now, wrestlemark10@gmail.com. That's wrestlemark10, that's 10, @gmail.com. Or you could tweet us. We've got a Twitter, or is it X now? I don't know. Just
I don't know what to call it.
Just do the thing that Elon knows, and it's @mark_out of10. We've got a YouTube channel, again, Mark Out of 10. You can comment under there. Podcasts are on Spotify, obviously, or any other your major podcasting network things that you listen to. And remember, if you hit the 5-star reviews and leave comments and stuff, we do read them all, and we do try and respond to anything we can. So please keep on doing that thing. What I will say, Hoxie, is looking at the comments, it looks like your episode 1 list, it was the favourite of the listeners that we do have.
Well, what can I say?
But have you peaked too early? Who knows? Who knows?
You didn't have Michaels on there, mate. There's your problem. You had Kurt Angle without Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
You're off to the straight away, right?
In hindsight, okay, fair enough. I got
hindsight's 2020, mate. Hindsight's 2020. So, yeah.
Fuck you all.
But it's all opinion based. This is why it's fun. This is why it's fun, though, right? Like people will have their own lists. Like there's a few people said to me, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you had Hulk Hogan at like number 2," and so like he's a brick. Like, oh. It's like I'm not talking about like he's full of shit. He's like the biggest, like one of the biggest pieces of shits probably in wrestling world right now. So, but I wasn't talking about that. Like if it was like biggest pieces of shits in wrestling or whatever, then. You know what I mean? But we were talking about champions, and you cannot deny what he did for the business, really. So yeah, it's one of them. Like everyone's got their own opinion, and that's why wrestling is fun.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. I love
absolutely.
it. That's why I love wrestling, mate. That's why we love wrestling, right?
100%. As I say, where opinions mean everything and absolutely nothing at the same time. You know, yep. I don't think I could have put it any better. Okay, so let's get fired into some sort of wrestling talk. So before we get into the list of the top 10 stars in the business, there's another big story in wrestling this week, and it was announced that Impact Wrestling is going back to TNA. What are your thoughts, Hoxie boy?
I think they probably needed this, to be fair. I think it's a good thing and also potentially a bad thing. So a good reason that they needed a rebrand. Even people now, like I call it TNA. I don't call it Impact. I never have done. I think it was a bit. I can see why they changed it. The rebrand was sort of important at the time to get away from that TNA LOL situation, which became a massive thing. And and obviously the change in owners, the change in backers, whatever, whichever way you want to put it. But I think it's a good thing now. I think they're at that position where they there is a market for other wrestling promotions.
Yeah.
I was having this discussion actually yesterday with a group of my mates about that, and now AEW's come around, and you've got that TV. It's on a huge audience. TV's not the same. Content isn't the same, digested in the same way anymore. So whatever. I think they've sort of broke the mold a little bit with what they can do or what wrestling can do in the marketplace. So there will be market share for a TNA, and I think that the brand name of TNA has got more impact and got more sort of appeal than an Impact Wrestling. So I think it's a good thing. On the flip side of that coin, you've got, like I just said earlier on, you've got the TNA LOL situation where people will go back to that, and they like for a lot of their stuff, they deserved it really, but I don't think deserved it as much as they did. If you look at their ratings that they did back then when they were TNA LOL, they were getting like 2.2, 1.8, 2 shit like ratings. Like that's more than what Raw and SmackDown have got the last few years. So I think if we look at history slightly different, it's impressive. Like it's going to be very different now. I mean, WA Power, there's talks of them getting a TV deal now.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these the networks, for example, I think they're seeing that and they're thinking, hey up, we could do a bit here, or we can make a bit of money, or we can get some eyes on our product, or whatever. I think it's a good thing. I think TNA have done. They've just had their Bound for Glory pay-per-view, which was, by all accounts, very good.
Yeah.
I think in terms of what they can do, the what's the word, that independent sense that's out there now.
Yeah.
I think they have opportunities to do cross promotion. They have opportunities to do good things. And just if they've got some good backing, apparently Mark Cuban is involved with TNA. Did you know this?
Really?
In terms of apparently, this is what I found this out yesterday. I haven't looked into this, by the way. This was just somebody told me about it. But Mark Cuban is a backer, or he's on the board, or he's something, an investor, he's something to do with TNA. So I think it's if he has, because he's got some money, he needs to see it back. You know what I mean? So he's got a bit of money behind him. I think it could be quite impressive. But if you look at the matches, I mean, the Bound for Glory pay per view had Will Ospreay versus Mike Bailey, which is, I still need to watch it. It's meant to be incredible. You've got guys like PCO, Rhino, Moose is still there, Steve Macklin, obviously Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, and Kenta was a match. Like that's a big match on many cards. I wouldn't say any cards, but that's a big match on any cards. So they had Jordan Grace. She beat Bully Ray, which is just incredible. So there's lots of stuff that they're doing. There's lots of stuff that they sort of do that's outside the box, and fair play to them. Wrestling's better when there's more competition, John, right?
100%. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds, because, you know, the original question I was going to ask is a case of, is it going to change people's perception, or is the damage done? Now, I think there's going to need to be significant change, and I think the significant change for TNA is going to be, are they going to bring back the 6-sided ring? Because that's different, right? Now, you've heard people in the past say they didn't like the 6-sided ring. It was much harder. The bumps weren't great. But I think they've got to do something significant like that, because fair enough, it's going to change name, but it's still going to be Impact. You know what I mean? It's still going to be perceived as Impact unless there's going to be significant change. Because let's be honest, that pay-per-view was an Impact pay-per-view. You know, you've named all those great names, great matches, but it's still Impact. I think TNA fans...
I mean, they changed the 6-sided ring before they changed to Impact.
Yeah, that's true. That was Hogan, right?
Yeah, well... It was probably more Bischoff than it was Hogan. I don't think Hogan gave a shit, to be fair. It was more Bischoff.
Money.
Yeah, fuck, he didn't care. He was there for the money, brother. But I think the 6-sided ring was different.
was a gimmick,
but it was
right?
different. Yeah, it was a gimmick. It was different for different sake. If the six-sided ring, for me, if it was like, it's the same with the X Division, for example. When they started the X Division, it was like nobody over 200 pounds or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
it was all that sort of thing. There was like rules and there was a reason for it. The six-sided ring was there just to be a six-sided ring, just to look different, just to be different. And I think it was different for different sake. Jeff Jarrett, apparently, this one of the reasons he gave was the fact that it would look different on a shelf
Yeah.
in a shop, like in a shop to sell toys and stuff. I don't even think they ever sold a six-sided ring toy.
Fuck's sake,
Which
Jeff.
is just, yeah, like it's just. I think it's just one of those things. Like it was. So I'm a wrestler. I've wrestled for 14 years. Even when you go from wrestling in a, say for example, a 14-foot ring, you go to a 16-foot ring. So it's still square, but those 2 extra feet in the ring, it messes your mind up. It messes your head up. Some of the guys, like the wrestlers back in the day, they would have said, "Oh, it wasn't really an issue or whatever." But it's awkward, man. You've got to relearn how to sort of work in there, and your spatial awareness and your ring positioning and running the ropes is different. They've got different like spring tension on the ropes because they're short. And like, it is a big difference for the workers. I think everyone is brought up in a four-sided ring, unless you're in Mexico for the most part. But
Yeah.
it's weird. Like, for me, I think it looks weird and it looks awkward. To shoot it from like those the hard camera, the TV camera, it looks really strange to shoot it that way because it looks odd when you don't have it square on. So I just think it looks a bit weird. And for me, I prefer a four-sided ring. What say you, John?
Yeah, I
What say
think as
you,
a
Stuart?
fan, yeah. I mean, it's squared circle, right? That's the
Exactly.
classic. But the issue I've got is if they don't do it, right, they're not just going to be competing with WWE anymore. They're going to be competing with AEW. And I think, although AEW have obviously got their flaws, along with WWE, I don't know, I just don't know if it's going to have the same impact, excuse the pun. You know what it actually reminds me of, right? I think it's got the similar thing to WWF, WCW, and ECW. TNA is going to be the ECW in terms of they'll go out first in terms of business. That'll die first. AEW for me is like the WCW and WWF is obviously WWE because it's still there. It's its own entity. I just can't get that sort of analogy out of my head a little bit, and I've got concerns, but I don't know. It's going to be an exciting next year's going to be quite cool. I think. Fingers crossed. It's like you say, it's good for the business. If it's a case of competition is good. It's healthy.
Yes. Yeah. It gives wrestlers places to work, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's what we need, and places people can go there and thrive, and sort of make a name for themselves and end up doing more stuff, bigger stuff. That's the way the business should be. I'm all for it.
Gives people an opportunity to be a
Or with
star.
18 months when I'm like, TNA is shit, get this off television. No, honestly, it would be nice for it all to succeed. It'd be good.
It gives people an opportunity to be a star, that's what I was about to say. And, there's a nice little segue in. So, not everybody deserves to be a star, though, Hoxie, right? And I thought it was quite a professional little segue.
That's
I don't know.
Brilliant, mate. Yeah, that's brilliant.
So, not everybody deserves to be a star. And we all know there are people that have got no business being a champion, being given airtime because they're trash, okay? And Hoxie and I have came together again and we've given a list of our top 10 overrated stars, again, stars in inverted commas, in the business, current day and in the past as well. Remember, this is all opinion-based. It's just an opinion, but there could be arguments. It's going to be a fun one tonight. I'm looking forward to this one. So yeah, it's going to be exactly the same. We'll go through them. I'll go for the first one, and then Hoxie will go for two, and then we'll swap over. We'll do it the same as we did episode 1. You happy with that, Hoxie?
I'm absolutely happy with that, mate. Yeah, perfectly fine with that.
I'm going to take a drink just to,
wet the whistle.
Wet the old whistle. Okay, so I think what's really important to note as well, for me when I was formulating my list, it was down to a few things that pushed over the line for me. It's down to either piss poor booking, you know, which is fine. It can happen. That's a reason why you think they're overrated. You know, it's there's just general frustration. It's just, you just don't get it, and just basically they're just garbage and shouldn't be anywhere near a title picture at all. That's sort of my mental model, and we'll get into it as time goes on. So man number 10 is Hangman Adam Page, specifically Hangman Adam Page in AEW.
Okay. Yeah.
Quite simply, I just don't get what happened to him, right? He's got the look of an absolute superstar, 6 foot, he's, 230 pounds or something like that. He's good-looking guy, he's got one of the coolest finishes. The buckshot lariat is, when it's hit properly, it looks $1 million. But in AEW, he's just... meh. It's like, I just don't get it. And this is one of them that was, is it just down to piss poor booking? Or is it the fact that he's now on mainstream TV in the US and he just doesn't give a fuck? You know, he doesn't really show any personality, any charisma, in my opinion. You know, it's like, again, all opinion-based, folks, yeah? I just don't understand his push, okay? And it seems to be a slowly consistent push, especially at the beginning of AEW. You know, he won the big title, you know, Meltzer, and we said it last episode, fuck Dave Meltzer. He gave him 5.5 stars, and what it was, a direct quote, a classic against Kenny Omega, okay? But is it a classic just because Omega was in the match, or is it down to the fact that in AEW that there's no real stars anyway, other than MJF? You know, in terms of like, the bar is set so low, he is involved in a classic match. I just don't know. I mean, at the moment, if he is so great, why is he not in a massive push towards like MJF? I don't want to see MJF wrestle Adam Page. I don't want to see that feud. I just think
MJF doesn't want to see it. That's why it's not happening. That's why it's not happening.
His booking's been awful, and again, that's down to, I think, Tony Khan just being an absolute mark. To be honest, he doesn't know what to do with them. I think the worst thing that I've seen Adam Page do is this sort of wish Stone Cold Steve Austin getting drunk on beer. It was just an absolute farce. Like, it went nowhere. It was just trying to be alternative for alternative's sake. And I think the sort of cherry on the cake for me is, you know, he was the starting point, and we've talked about this last episode, he was the starting point of the whole Punk situation, went to business for himself with a promo, and, you know, granted, again, we've discussed it at length last time, but it just escalated and escalated. But he was the sort of starting pistol for that entire scenario, and I think that's going to affect
Genesis of the downfall. Yeah.
100%. I think that's the downfall to AEW. I mean, mark this, 25th of October, this is when it's recorded. If AEW go under, I'm blaming fucking Adam Page. There we go. So yes, he's my number 10 on...
I'm second in line to do that as well.
He's the most overrated, in my opinion, he's number 10 and the most overrated stars in the business. Thoughts?
So, I agree. I couldn't agree anymore. I said to you earlier on, I've rewritten this list probably 10 times. Mm-hmm. I've took him in, I've put him out, I've took him in, I've put him out, whatever. He just missed out for me.
Okay.
He is a charisma vacuum. Mm-hmm. is what I would describe Hangman Adam Page as. Like, his in-ring work is decent. Like, he's an all right worker, right? Like, he can do some stuff. I don't like the no look in what he does off the top rope every match. It just makes no sense whatsoever. Like, he bashes a guy out the ring, gets up on the top rope and does a moonsault without looking to see if the guy is actually there or not. That makes no sense. I know we shouldn't put logic to an illogical situation, but that winds me up. And he should only do it every so often. He shouldn't do it in every match. That's by the by. That's me talking as a worker, not as a pundit, shall we say. He was trying to give himself character with that whole, like, oh, I'm going to have a drink and I'm going to be like... The reason Stone Cold worked when he had a drink is because he'd go in there and kick someone's head in and he wouldn't give a shit. He wouldn't be like, oh, why Why aren't you being my friend? Is it because I like to have a drink? Or Young Bucks? Or we've had a falling out? Or Kenny, can you be my friend again? Fuck off. Get in the bin. It's boring.
He's like the quintessential girl crying because she's had too much gin on the curb. You know,
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's
I
like,
love you.
I love
Why
you.
does everybody hate me? Yeah, he's just For me, he can get in the bin. I even before the Punk thing, it was just go like massive amounts of go away heat for me. He held the title, just the best thing ever to get the title off him.
Yep.
It was just he's boring. He is vanilla ice cream.
But his
I'll tell
Japan
you what, it's
stuff
not
was
even
decent.
You got to think where he was. Like he wasn't on the mic. He was just
Yeah.
working.
Yeah,
So
I
that's the
suppose.
difference.
That's the difference.
When you're working, when you're having decent matches, like it's decent. But when you're given the opportunity to try and get yourself over, there's a massive difference. Massive difference. And for me, he can get in the sea. Definitely. Well done, John.
Thanks,
Well
Hoxie.
done.
There we go. To be fair,
It will go
listeners,
downhill from you
it's
guys.
going to go downhill. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Okay, so next up is Hoxie with his number 10, and then ultimately his number 9. He's going to do 2 in a row. So you're number 10, Hoxie.
My number 10 is Sid Vicious. Psycho Sid.
Okay.
Old Sid Udy. 6'9", 300 pounds, big, boring, shit. That's what I put on my notes as a headline. His look got him over in a time where that was a thing. He was you look at him. Vince McMahon used to say, the guys who walk through an airport and everyone stops and turns and looks at him. That's the kind of people that I want. I want those big bastards. Good shit. Like he looked the part, but his work was so bad.
One of the
He
most
main
dangerous
evented-
power bombs I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that jackknife power bomb is just ridiculous. Old Lord Humongous, mate. He couldn't work for Toffee, bless him. He was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Best matches he ever had were with Shawn Michaels, just because Shawn Michaels was bumping himself all over the place. It was crazy. Apart from that, shit. Like I say, he main evented 2 WrestleManias, like WrestleMania 8, WrestleMania 13. He main evented WrestleManias, being this guy. It was just his look. That's all it was. His mic work was just awful. His promos were terrible. They were delivered terrible. I think it was. I should have looked this up. I know the story, but I don't know the internet. So that's a running theme with me, by the way. I know the story, but I don't know all the facts. He done a promo live pre-record with Jim Ross. Can you remember this?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he started through the promo, said something was like, "Oh, can we start again?" And Jim Ross just, "We're live, pal."
We're live.
Like just the best response ever. Like this guy was just dreadful. To make all the money he did, to wrestle in all the places he wrestled. He was in Japan. He was obviously WCW champion, WWF champion. Just like everywhere he wrestled, just based on him being 6'9" and 300 pounds, because you can't teach that. Apparently, that's what I've heard somewhere. But and as soon as softball season came around, he's buggered off and played softball. It's just the business was secondary to him.
Yep.
And for that, I have no respect for that. There we go. But that's my number 10. Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid, Sid Justice, whatever you want to call him. Yeah,
Shit.
cool.
Yeah, to be honest,
Right.
he's not on my list, and it's not because I disagree with you. I agree with everything you just said. It's because he's just so inconsequential to me. I didn't even consider him on the list.
Didn't
to be
even want to
perfectly
put
honest.
him on.
You know
That's
what I mean?
fine. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I can't disagree with anything you say.
He had a big impact on the business. Like it's a little bit some of the choices that I had last week. It's about sort of impact and sort of what he did and what he meant to the business at certain times. Like I just don't for this list, I don't understand how he did it. Well, I do, but he was just massively overrated, hugely overrated. If he was 6'2", he wouldn't have got the chances that he'd got after fucking them up all the time. Yeah. And that broken leg, dude. But
No, right, okay. Let's move on. I think a solid start for both of us. I think that's decent. You're number 9, Mr. Hawks.
my number 9 is Batista. Big Dave.
Okay.
6-time world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
And he got there just by being an absolute meathead. That's literally all it is. Like he got really, really close with Triple H, and he's a made man then straight away. He was injury prone. He was poor in the ring, very, very minimal ring moveset. He was poor on the mic. You look at those guys who were in that sort of the ruthless aggression era with him. You had the Cenas, you had the Triple H's, you had all these guys on the mic who would literally wipe the floor with him. Even when he came back a few years ago to do that run with with Triple H, like what was it? He was just standing in the ring, just shouting like, "Tell me," or whatever it was. Just like he's just
give me what I want.
Give me what I want. That's it. Give it to me.
Give
me what I want. Just awful, awful. It was just all about his look. It was all about how he looked, the muscles, the tattoos, the size. This is a statement that I'm gonna make a couple of times. One of our listeners will probably love this as well. It was all about the sizzle. There was no steak with this guy at all. All about the sizzle, no steak.
It's another T-shirt right there.
Yeah, boy, too right. For him to be like 6-time champ. I think that's world. I think he obviously held the WWE title a few times as well. For him to have that sort of run and to have that amount of impact on the business is just Jesus, just insane. And like he got there from being just a body guy, really. And that's it. He spent time in OVW. He was it Deacon Batista?
Yeah.
Obviously trained by Jim Cornette and the guys down there. Like,
what was the other gimmick he used? It was
Leviathan.
Leviathan. That's it. Yeah.
So like he had a really, really good start in the industry. Huge start in the business with Jim Cornette. Like you look at that that sort of group he would have came up with. Like it's insane. Like a lot of them went on to be Hall of Famers, or they will be Hall of Famers at some point. He just from just being a big boy and massively overrated. I never liked his work, never liked his matches. Name me one great Batista match.
No.
You can't do it.
No.
Like I mean, like fair play to him. He tried his hardest, and he obviously made a shit ton of money. He done what he needed to do in the business, but yeah, he's a better actor than he is a wrestler. Definitely. Yeah. Fair play to him for that. In Blade Runner, he was brilliant, but apart from that, just shocking, absolutely shocking. So
absolutely
for me,
shocking.
He's absolutely shocking. So he's on my number 9, definitely.
A fair shout. Now, my number 9, I've went slightly different here. Now, remember, it doesn't always need to be the top stars, right, that we're talking about, like Dave Batista. So, I 100% agree with you. Completely overrated. Not on my list, interestingly enough, but I went slightly left field, I think like Iron Sheik left field that I was going with last time, right?
That was a big swerve, bro.
It was a big swerve. My number 9 is Kofi Kingston. There's a famous quote from Neil Donald Walsh. Try not to confuse longevity with a job well done. Okay? Kofi Kingston is the quintessential champion that was nothing more than a token gesture just because he accepted his just mediocrity and his non-position within the company, in my opinion. Okay? He is the third best member of New Day. New Day is a staple, Third best member of the New Day. Xavier Woods is significantly better than him on the mic, and Big E can go. He's obviously not at the moment. Get well soon, Big E. But he's just there. As far as I'm concerned, the 180 days where he was the champ is just ridiculous. Thank God for Brock Lesnar. stopping that. I'll always remember Kofi Kingston as the guy that got rid of a Jamaican accent overnight, and he did a food.
Hold on, weren't you meant to be Jamaican? Best line
Yeah,
ever.
exactly. Best line ever. And what else is he famous for? A few cool spots saving himself for the Royal Rumble. You know, so he didn't get eliminated. That's it, really. There's nothing memorable about Kofi. I think he didn't deserve the world title match. I think it was just in a period where they didn't have anybody else really to fill in a gap. And he definitely shouldn't have got a world title run. You know, if you consider some of the people in the past that didn't get the big belt, you know, and the fact that he's on the history list with 180 days reign, for me, is just mental. And I just don't understand the fascination with him. But for me as an individual, as a sole competitor, Kofi Kingston for me is one of the most overrated modern day superstars out there at the moment.
That is more left field than the Iron Shake for me, mate. That's crazy. I agree about him winning the title. I agree with you about him winning the title. It was sort of a bit of a, just because he was there for a long time, it's sort of, It should be his turn. And like, this is what a lot of people a lot of wrestling fans do. Dolph Ziggler's been there for 20 years. He should be the world champion because he's been there for so long. Like, just go away. Like, Dolph Ziggler should be the world champion because he's fucking brilliant. For a start, that's a different conversation. But I agree. Now, the only reason Kofi won the title is because Mustafa Ali got injured. So it was meant to be him that was winning the belt.
That's even fucking worse.
It's crazy though, right? I think it was probably a Saudi deal sort of situation. I think. But Mustafa Ali got injured, and they sort of had to do a quick punt, quick left turn on it, and get Kofi in. But I agree. Like, it was a nice quote unquote WrestleMania moment. But there's way more people in the company that they could have swiveled to, and
100%.
180 days as a champion.
It's crazy, right?
That's long. That's longer than like lots of people. That's longer than a couple of people probably that were on my fucking list last week. You know what I mean? It's like the best champions ever. So, yeah. Kofi didn't even spring to mind.
The only reason, I'll be honest, the only reason he's came into my mind is because I was actually having a conversation with someone the other day, and they were talking about how Kofi was better than Dolph. And it angered me so much. It angered me so much. I was like, do I know something? Fuck you. Kofi's on the list. I don't know who I'm taking out, but Kofi's on the fucking list. Fuck him. But yeah, it's just insanity. So yeah, my number 9, a bit of a swerve, major left field. But yeah, Kofi Kingston. Fuck you, Kofi. Okay, so I believe is it still me to go? Number 8, I think. Is that right?
Yes, you're number 8, cool. Mate. Yes.
Man number 8. Okay. So it's similar line to Batista. It's not Batista, but if you think of muscles, very little mental acumen during his peak time, squash matches, who do we think of? Goldberg. Goldberg is on the list for me in terms of one of the most overrated. Like, I can't think of anybody, and I'm going to put the question to you. Can you think of anybody within the history of pro wrestling that got as much of a push as Goldberg, cold, like coming in without paying his dues, doing all that sort of stuff? Can you think of anybody that got that push that he did?
Not anybody. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head who sort of wasn't wrestling beforehand. Maybe back in the territories potentially, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
Well... Warrior.
Yeah. But the thing is though, right, Warrior had a charisma for the time that he was in. You know, he was larger than life, he was colourful, you know, it was that sort of thing. He made fucking no sense, right? That he was left field, Jesus Christ. But Goldberg had, I don't think he had any charisma. He had no mic skills to talk of. I'm talking specifically about the WCW. I think in his defence, right, when he comes back to WWE now, His mic skills are generally okay, but again, it's in an era where
It's all written for him, right?
well, exactly,
It's
yeah.
different. Yeah.
As this pushes like the unstoppable monster, it's like what was it, 100 and I suppose we don't really know how much it was because WCW were just all over the shop, right?
They were working the number, yeah.
But definitely well over 100.
It's 173-0.
Was it 173? Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, what you've got to do is look at once he lost that streak, you know? He didn't have the ability or the skills to get back over again. Not really, you know? And yeah, I just think because of that, he's got to be on a list. And I'd be very surprised if he's not on yours. If he isn't, then I stand corrected. But yeah, for me, Goldberg. I mean, the clown punched he punched a window of the car in the WCW and broke his hand.
He killed himself. He split one of the arteries open in his arm. Then he died. Crazy bastard.
Absolute gonad. I mean, but yeah. So Goldberg is my number 8, Hoxie.
Brilliant. So I've got to ask you a question now. Who's next? So for me, my number 8. See what I did there? That's called a that's called a segue for all you people out there, all you listeners. I'm professional reporter, just so you know, professional broadcaster. My number 8 is Lex Luger. His in-ring work was dreadful. His mic work was awful. The only thing really that sort of got him over to a certain degree was he was just lucky to be mates with Sting. Dusty and Ric Flair liked him because he just looked the part. His body got him over more than anything else. Like, you can't deny he was a big old boy, right? He's a big lad. But he's just awful. Absolutely terrible worker. Obviously the old Express thing. Vince thought he was going to be the second coming of Hogan. Get him on the bus, driving him around America, getting him on the USS Intrepid, trying to body slam Yokozuna. They went wearing a US flag shirt everywhere, kissing the babies and throwing all whatever it was, just whatever, signing all the boobies, blah 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 blah. And he got found out really quick because he was just dreadful. But the best gimmick he ever got given was the narcissist because it was pretty bang on, pretty bob on for this guy. There's a really famous story from back in the day when he was in WCW. He was in a bar, and he paid the barman, I think it was like $50, $20 or whatever, to peel his shrimp for him, to peel all the shells off the prawns, because he didn't want to have smelly fingers. So he paid the barman some money to do that for him, and then he ate it with a fork, basically, because he didn't want to touch the shrimp. He didn't want to have smelly fingers. Like, the guy was a dick. He was a dick. Like, he found Jesus later on in life, and obviously turned the corner, which a lot of these guys seem to have done, who were maybe a little bit sort of a little bit leery in earlier life, allegedly. So, but yeah, he was just he was multiple time world champion. He beat Hulk Hogan with a torture rack, to win the championship. You know what I mean? Like, not many people beat Hulk Hogan, and not many people tapped him out. Definitely, I don't get it. I didn't like him then. I don't get it now. A little thing for you guys as well. Whenever he's doing a promo, you won't be able to unsee this now. I guarantee the next time you see him do a promo, you watch him on the telly or whatever. He does this thing with his hand where he points at the camera. Like, imagine sort of pretending thing with your finger, like your thumb up, and you point a finger sticking out. He turns it to the side like a gangster sort of thing, and he points at the camera when he's doing the promo. You cannot unsee. He does it every time. You can't unsee it once you've seen it. It's so weird. It's so strange. And the noises he makes in the ring as well. Really give me the ick. They get all over me. I can't handle it.
I mean, to be honest, him pointing
oh.
in a promo is not going to be the worst part of that promo. To be perfectly honest, let's be
Well,
yeah.
but at least it gives you something to focus on. That isn't the shit that's coming out of his mouth.
That's
So
true.
it's a good start. But yeah, he was in the fucking Four Horsemen, for fuck's sake.
No, he
Fuck
wasn't.
me.
Just no, he wasn't. Let's ignore that. No, disagree. No, he wasn't.
He wasn't.
Nope,
He was,
fuck
but
him.
he wasn't. But he
Yeah,
was,
fuck him.
but he wasn't. It's a joke. Ridiculous.
You
So
know,
for me,
yeah.
yeah, he's all of the go away heat for me. He was shit, like I said, shit in the ring, shit on the mic. He just looked good. Simple as that. Very similar sort of situation to Batista for me, but probably a little bit more because he was over in a period of time where like there was some big old stars and oh, just yeah, get in the bin.
There's
Sorry,
also
Lex.
the outside of the ring, the whole Miss Elizabeth affair thing. It's just not nice. It's
The
it's
whole
just
way it went
not
down is pretty bad, right?
just
Pretty
not
bad.
nice at all. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying he was to blame for it, but he was definitely a big, massive proponent to it. You know, it's like,
It's there, so it's one of them, right?
exactly,
Allegedly. So
allegedly, yeah, exactly.
yeah,
He,
but
he's
yeah,
just a
for
bit of
me, he's got to make it on the list. He has to make it on the list. He
a
was
fair play.
one of the first names that I put on there. The only thing that I was sort of toying with this is to where to put him on the list, and I think there's some big for me. So for him, yep, number 8, easy.
Interesting. Like, again, I don't disagree with you at all. I think smashing the point straight away, and I think our lists are going to be very different. But I think it's very interesting to see the different ways we went about this. Interesting, cool. Cool. It is your number 7, Mr. Hoxie.
My number 7 is the Big Show, Paul White. He was just his size. That's all. That's all that had him like. He's just terrible, shocking. His in ring work is boring. It's samey. The people will say, "Oh well, Ric Flair wrestled the same match, and John Cena. You want to pay to see his moves and all that? Like, whatever, boring, or off. I can't be dealing with it. He's just a couple of chops. You can't work with this guy. The guys who had to work with him couldn't work with him because he was just hard to work with. Very minimal sort of output. Um, he was just lucky. Like Hogan saw him as Andre Mark II, didn't he? Hulk Hogan in WCW worked a lot of feuds or tried to work with a lot of people or saw a lot of similarities with people to relive what he did in that 80s like monster machine, that heel monster machine coming through. And he saw the Big Show and thought, oh my God, this guy's massive. I mean, body slam him and I'm going to get the same reaction that I did with Giant. And the thing is, the Big Show, Paul White, was not Andre the Giant. You know what I mean? So it's a very, very different situation. Um, he got to WWF, got found out really quickly. He kept getting sent back to. He got sent to the clinic to lose weight and all this like sort of stuff. Like he just didn't take the business very seriously for a long period of time. He just boring, and he's won world championships. He's won WWE championships. Like he's had big feuds, big matches. Like he's put guys over. He's been put over by bigger guys. For me, it was just he's just massive go away heat. Like yeah, I just he has to be on my list. The Big Show for me personally, just boring. Every time I used to hear his music, the fucking just oh god, please no. He'd heel turn like the fucking tides would change. You know what I mean? It was just shit. Yeah, shit for me.
Interesting.
Massively overrated, hugely overrated. He had to be on my list. He was like we were saying with Lex Luger. He's like one of the first names on there for me to be as big. Forgive the pun. To be as big as he is in the business, and his little sort of charisma. He's just a lucky boy. He's lucky he's
Yep.
7'12" or whatever he is, in £7,000, like whatever. Just lucky boy. Yep.
So Hoxie's number 7 is the Big Show.
I machine gunned that out because it bores me talking about him, so I just wanted to get it out of the way. You know what I mean? Like
No, that's fair.
I don't want to like a big flab about him because he's just bleh, meh.
Well,
Bleh.
it's good that you done Machine Gun it, because my number 7 is also The Big Show. Yeah, yeah. So I'll just run through my. You've sort of touched on everything. Like
That's
7'2", 500 pounds. You know, in terms of he should have been the next Andre in terms of star attraction, right? He should have. You know, in terms of
Yeah.
you know, there's no one bigger than him. He was that. He should have been the next Andre the Giant, but he didn't, and it was simply because he was just a lazy fucker. You know, the one I always go back to is I think it's a very, very rare Undertaker out of character in 2002. I think it was on Off the Record with Michael Landsberg, and Taker himself said that he was like the one guy that he was really fed up with because he just failed to live up to the potential. I think the story was that, you know,
disappointed. Like,
he was
imagine being disappointed, like the Undertaker
by the
being
Undertaker.
disappointed in you. Oh,
but the story
God.
was that before they went out, Big Show was like, "Oh, I'm going to gas you up, Taker. I'm going to gas you up. Going to gas you up." They got to the ring, and he literally took like 5 steps in the ring, and he was gassed. He was like holding the ropes, and Taker was fucking livid with that. So, yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why he did go away, came back, lost a lot of weight, etc. But
Yep.
yeah, he just didn't live up to the sort of potential he should have had. I agree with you. It's like it was the flip flop in between. I'm a heel, I'm a baby face. It's like he just nothing worked for him. It doesn't matter what he did. Fans were quiet, you know.
Yes.
It was after the
No
Royal
reaction.
Rumble. No reaction at all.
What reaction you get a reaction. Like, if it's a boo or a yay, at least you're getting something. But when there's nothing there, it's just a bit like.
I mean, it was nothing until about the Royal Rumble in 2000, yeah, and then after that, he just became like a whiny bitch. It was like, you know, it's like, you're 7'2", just fucking stop it. And then apparently someone knew that he could do like a decent Hulk Hogan impression, and that's why they turned him face, so he could do like comedy. So he would come out, be all smiley, and he just wants to entertain everybody. He wants to entertain the fans. Like, fuck off, you know. He should have been an absolute killer, and you know. The next again week he was booked as an absolute killer, and then the following week he was just a nightmare. It's just he's just it's go away heat. You're absolutely right. What I will say though is I think
whatever, just pointless.
What I will say though is
that you bono.
Yeah, what I will say though is that at the very beginning I put this thing about bad booking, and I think in terms of the face and heel turns, like, that's fair enough. The best Big Show was when he was feuding with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman was booking that storyline. Because Paul Heyman said, "This is what you are, this is what you're doing." You know, it's like, this is where we go. And that was a Big Show you could have got behind because he was just an animal. You know, he used his size, he used all that. But it just didn't go. And I think, you know, fair play to him. He's went to AEW. He's obviously on a good payday, and you know he's going to ride that out until he retires. But please retire, Big Show. It's like just,
the best thing the Big Show ever did in his career for me was oil testing Brock Lesnar. That's for me brilliant. But yeah, cool. Next.
Both of us with Big Show as number 7. Okay, so my number 6 then. Okay, is this one actually pains me a little bit. Okay, and you got to bear with me a little bit. And it's Bray Wyatt, but as the Fiend. So it's not Bray Wyatt the person. I think I'm more looking at the gimmick and the character of the Fiend. And it really does pain me because I really did like Bray Wyatt. Okay, I loved the fact that he got his redemption from Husky Harris. If you remember Husky Harris when he was when he first came up, and then he became NXT, Bray Wyatt. Yeah. He came up to NXT. He was Bray Wyatt, and it was one of the best. Again, I think we spoke about it in episode 1. It was one of the best ideas that I've seen in wrestling in decades. You could say it's like with the Wyatt family. You know, it's just. It was so good. And then I was really sad when that disbanded, but then there was the new Firefly Funhouse. Different, but it did show like sort of Bray's creative side. But the Fiend was just like, just shake my head. It was just so bad. It's like, even if it was like the late 80s or early 90s where the Fiend might have fit in with like The Undertaker and Mankind and stuff like that, it still would have been hokey as shit, man. It was just, just this character was so overrated. Like the red lighting in the matches with like Seth Rollins at Hell in the Cell, it was just like, what are you doing? It's just too much of something that's just utter bullshit. Just way overrated. And I think Bray was a victim of his own success with the Wyatt family and the Firefly. And the notes I've got here, The Fiend's a prime example of why people like Vince McMahon and Triple H put leashes on people to rein them in, just so they don't go too far down the line.
Vince loved it, though. Vince loved it.
But again, Triple H didn't know. Triple H, if you heard interviews with Triple H, it's a case of Bray is a victim of his own success. It's like he needs to be reined in every so often. And, to be fair, Vince is he's a ball hair away from a breakdown anyway, right? I mean, have you seen that moustache? I mean, I just think...
He looks like Errol Flynn. I think he looks incredible.
I just think, the Fiend.
So the last time Vince McMahon watched a television show was when he was on the telly as a pirate. So he probably thinks he looks cool as fuck. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, again, it's slightly different to your justifications for yours, but I just think the Fiend as a character is one of the most overrated things in sort of modern wrestling. People were raving about it in terms of, it's so creative, it's so this, it's so that. For me, I just didn't buy it, and I just think it was a poor way for, obviously, what happened to Bray. I think it was just a poor way to end his sort of legacy a little bit, and it's a shame, because he was one of the most creative that we've seen in a long, long while in wrestling.
So, I disagree.
Wow.
Massively. I don't disagree with everything. He was what wrestling needed at this moment in time. So you got to think about the timing of the Fiend character. You got to think about what was going on in the world then. We had COVID was going on. Okay. They were wrestling without any fans. They had the Thunderdome bullshit gimmick with the TV screens and all that sort of stuff. They needed to be able to provide something that was presented in a different way. And I think he was the person to do that. I'm not saying I agree it might have gone too far sometimes. I agree with the hokiness of it sometimes, but wrestling in a lot of ways is hokey as shit.
Yeah.
I think that they needed it. They needed that character at the time. The John Cena Fiend match at WrestleMania with the going back in time and going, Cena's life story, that cinematic match that they did. They needed that at the time because they couldn't particularly do anything else, and I think the presentation coming out of that was really, really important. I do agree. Like sometimes I agree with you. Sometimes it went a little bit too much, but I can't. Yeah, I disagree, mate.
See, I disagree with the idea of. I disagree with the sort of you saying the cinematic thing that he did with Cena being like necessary. I think that was the cherry on the shit cake that was the Fiend. I thought it was terrible. I mean, if you look at WWE,
I didn't say it was good. Whoa.
No, but it was.
I didn't say it was good.
But even I just. Maybe it's just my simple brain. I just didn't get it. If you look at the two major cinematic matches that they've done, okay, they've done that one. They've done the Cena and the Fiend, and they've done AJ and Undertaker. And for me, AJ and Undertaker, maybe it's because I'm just an Undertaker mark, and AJ is fucking brilliant in everything he does. But that's like apples and oranges. You can't compare the two, and I just don't get it. And I might get crucified in the comments again, like not having HBK on my fucking list. But it's
I think the Sister Abigail thing with Alexa was just incredible. I think it was amazing that the Randy Orton thing, the feud culminating in obviously you had like the burning situation, and you had the Sister Abigail coming out with. Did you not think that was just it was different? You don't think that was cool?
Nah, Sister Abigail was a gimmick too late. Sister Abigail should have been revealed with the Wyatt family, because that's what it was all based on. Before Randy burnt down the swamp hut, etc. It should have been then. I love Alexa Bliss. She's really good.
So do I.
And
she's really good.
She's really good.
Really good.
like she's awesome.
Really, 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 really good. Yeah,
I do like
probably
thinking
one
about
of the
Alexa.
best. Yeah, yeah.
But
Think about it most times.
you know, and
yeah.
I actually prefer. So Alexa would have been fine with that gimmick without the Fiend. Like, see with the doll, the creepy fucking doll thing. You know, equally as hokey, but I just don't. Nah, for me, the Fiend can get in the bin.
He was different. He was different. The presentation was similar. Yeah, like the mask, the whole mask thing, the lamp with Bray Wyatt's head was just so good. The presentation was sick. It was so good. It looked amazing.
You can put glitter on a shit, but it's still shit.
I ain't having it, mate.
Well,
Not having it. Yeah, he is what it needed at the time. He was different, really different. The latest run, the Uncle Howdy thing. Obviously, we're not talking about that. If you were talking about Uncle Howdy, Bray Wyatt, fucking whatever Fiend, I'd be thumbs up. But I think at the time, the world that we were living in at the time, I think we needed a Fiend. I think WWE needed him. He's not the hero they wanted. He's the hero they needed.
all right, Batman. Okay, Hoxie, you're number 6, my friend.
My number 6 is Kevin Nash.
Good shout.
Big sexy. Fuck me. I asked a question earlier on at Batista. I'm going to ask exactly the same question about Kevin Nash. Name me a great Kevin Nash match.
Yeah, nah. No happening.
Just multi-time champion. Probably the greatest politica in wrestling history.
Yep.
I probably second to Hulk Hogan. He managed to get himself in all these unbelievably incredible situations. Well, I get it, right? He was 6'9", whatever, 7 foot tall, good looking guy, beautiful hair, L'Oreal worthy hair, just unreal. Other hair, dyeing and product brands are available, but he was just like, I get it, right?
Quads made of glass, though.
Injury prone, click, click, click. Like, he was just shocking. His effort in the ring was terrible. His matches were shocking, boring. Elbows in the corner, whip off, side slam, big boot, leg drop, jackknife. Every match, every single match. The best match he ever had was with Bret Hart, and it's not even close. He never worked with anybody else. It was just boring, shit, shocking.
He worked with Sean though, right? Before when he stopped being his bodyguard.
But just the boys, aren't they? Like,
yeah,
he would have been Sean bumping around for him. He would have stood.
Yeah,
It would have been like a Perlo standing in the center circle, pinging balls around. He just stood there and let Sean come to him. You know what I mean? He wouldn't have been running around for him. Not a chance.
He's a better looking Sid Vicious.
He is a better looking Sid Vicious with better hair.
Yep.
He attached himself to the Clique when he joined the WWF in the 90s, and he was just instantly a made man. That's it. They had one of the biggest effects on the business than anybody really. Those group of guys.
Mm-hmm.
If he wasn't attached to that, he wouldn't have got anywhere. He would have been out the door as quick as he got in there. Boring shit, absolute human dog shit. It's just massively overrated. And he managed to politic his way onto the booking in WCW, and then booked himself to beat Goldberg to win the title.
Crazy.
What a guy. Genius, right? Shit. Absolute shocking. Yeah. I can't really sum it up much more than that. He makes me angry. Great mind for the business. Unbelievable mind for the business. Like, if he had the pencil, like, if he wasn't at work, he was 4'7" and 120 pounds, like, get him involved. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He would have been awesome for the business.
Do you know what he's like? He's like the Mourinho of wrestling. Fucking awful football player, but a fucking great person behind the scenes.
Great coach. Yeah, a Klopp or a Mourinho. yeah. Click Klopp. Sound of his quads every time he got to fucking walk across the room. Shocking. Yeah, not from Nash. Makes my piss boil. Sorry, mate. Sorry. Yeah, Kevin Nash is on the list, number 6. Easy.
Excellent. Good shit. Okay, guys, so we've good shit. So we've managed to get through 10 to 6, and as per normal, this is the bit where we talk about something that probably shouldn't have happened, or there's been a misstep in the wrestling business, and it's called the Royal Fumble.
Royal Fumble!
Okay, Hoxie, I think I mentioned this to you. I think this is a good little link to our wrestling news. Okay, and for me, the Royal Fumble that we're going to talk about is we're talking about the Hogan and Bischoff era in TNA, specifically when they decided to move it to a Monday to go head to head to Monday Night Raw.
Ugh,
Thoughts?
what a misstep.
Yep.
Just a huge misstep. If we look at, obviously we talked about Punk, just a fuck up by everybody on all accounts. That's like a messing up with a guy. If you look at missteps in the business of the wrestling business, this has got to be one of the biggest fumble of fumbles, the biggest royal fumbles, easy. How they thought that was going to be, how they thought they would ever get anywhere close to it, is beyond me. Absolutely beyond me.
Crazy.
This was 2000. It was
2010.
March 2010. Yeah, March 8th, 2010. There we go. Shocking. Hogan coming in thinking he was going to make the difference. It wasn't like, oh, come on, brother, we'll take on the WWE all together. He thought he was a big enough deal by himself to be able to beat WWE, like single-handedly, by having his name attached to a wrestling company, who at the time weren't doing anything, really. They were doing all right. We touched earlier on, they were doing all right, but Hogan goes in there. TNA was the alternative, wasn't it? They had a lot of old school WWE guys who would drop in. Obviously, had like Dudley's in there, Kevin Nash, like Scott Hall, sort of early day stuff. There was guys going in there for a payday, but TNA was built on their talent, wasn't it? Built on the AJ Styles, the Christopher Daniels, the Abyss, Samoa Joe. Fuck it. They had obviously Kaz and Doug Williams in there for like doing like X Division stuff, like just Hernandez, like the LAX, like all that sort of stuff. The company was built on that. It was that different. They had the 6-sided ring, they had the X Division, they had these like the AJ Styles, they had all these people that had their own position within the wrestling business, and the fans were happy with that, and they were expecting of that, and they were starting to get that that sort of following, starting to get that audience who were coming along for the ride at that time. Hogan and Bischoff came in and just changed everything. You had your Jeff Hardy's come in, you had your Rick come in, you had Bubba the bloody Love Sponge was on camera more than anybody else. Like nobody wants to see Bubba the Love Sponge. Nobody wants it. Not even Hulk Hogan wants to see him anymore.
No.
So it was just
Awkward.
it was just a bad call all over.
I remember the first Monday night. I remember that Impact because I watched both. I stayed up specifically to watch it. I watched Impact and I watched Raw, so I had two like screens up. And you know, I remember it was like you had Scott Hall, you had like X-Pac, Sean Waltman, like Sting was there, Jeff Jarrett, Jeff Hardy had signed. You saw Ric Flair.
He hadn't signed.
No, Jeff Hardy was there. Jeff Hardy was there.
Yeah. So he done it without a contract.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, which is mad.
But that night they debuted Ric Flair, remember? Yeah, and then it sort of tails off. You then got Val Venus, Sean Morley. he appeared. You had the Nasty Boys. It's like the fuck. Orlando Jordan and like you say, Bubba Love Sponge. And you know, if you ask about that, nothing major happens on Impact, but I'll always remember what happened on Raw. Like at the same time, that was the one where Bret Hart came back.
Yes,
you know, it was the one with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels
really
met.
Promoted that as well, didn't they? They knew what was going on. They massively promoted it against TNA, didn't they?
You know, it was like, and that just shows the drawing power. You know, I think Raw walked away with like 5.5 million viewers or something, whereas Impact
So
averaged about
Raw
two.
was a a 3.4 rating, and TNA was a 1.0.
It's crazy, right? So yeah, I mean, I think that again, that just came down to Hogan and Bischoff. I mean, I don't think ultimately they were the people that probably suggested it to the head honchos, and they were like, "Oh, Hogan and Bischoff know what they're talking about," you know. And
All Bischoff wanted to do was recreate what he did back then in WCW, right?
yeah,
It was sort of history trying to repeat itself. He's trying to recreate what he did by going to Ted and saying, "Oh, give us prime time." You know what I mean? Give us prime time Monday night. We'll go up against Raw. I mean, it worked then
yeah,
because it was different and it was new and they had
different
star
time,
power. But it's
different time.
TNA. You're looking at a 60-year-old Ric Flair and a Jeff Hardy who's probably going to go to jail at that time. You know what I mean? Like with all the shit that was going on. Nobody
Hmm.
wanted to see that. The TNA fan who they were used to the six-sided ring, they were used
Yep,
to the X division, they were used to all this stuff. They got chased away because they didn't want to see that. If they wanted to see that, they wouldn't be watching TNA, right? So
exactly.
they might have gained a lapsed fan or gained a fan from somewhere else. But as soon as your TNA fan on a Monday and saw all that, I want to see that. I want AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe and on and flying around and kicking the crap out of each other. I want to see strip poker and Val Venus. We don't want that.
So yeah, I think that was worthy just because of the big news. Obviously, going back to TNA, I think that was worthy of a slight discussion on a Royal Fumble. Agree?
Huge miss.
Huge.
Huge miss. Yeah. Shocking.
Guys, what did you think of the Impact trying to take on, or TNA trying to take on Monday Night Raw? Again, leave us comments. You can email us wrestlemark1010 at gmail.com. Or yeah, you can leave comments on the podcast or on our YouTube channel, Mark Out with 10. Make sure you sub and like that like the podcast as well when it comes out on YouTube. Okay, let's get back to the list of the top 10 most overrated stars in wrestling. I believe it's your number 5, Hoxie Boy.
My number 5, and I will go over the page on my notes, which I frantically written today. My number 5 is John Moxley, specifically now
Mm-hmm.
for AEW, probably the last 5 years or whatever. Um, I used to really like Moxley. When he sort of came into that NXT, there was a match. This match is, I think it's still on YouTube. He wrestled CM Punk in a gym in like an NXT, like an indie NXT show. It was incredible match, really good. And when he sort of got signed up to come on board with this like coming up to the main to Raw, I was like, this could be really good, really excited. You got Rollins and him and Reigns. I didn't really know much about, but I knew of Moxley and obviously Tyler. This will be really good. Oh, just yeah. Oh, he's literally just become a meme of himself or a meme of wrestling. He's just a glorified deathmatch worker now. He's just shocking.
Not a very good one.
His matches are all the same. His matches are horrible. Non-psychology, just non-stop non-psychology in his matches. The same stuff in every match. His mic work is poor. He thinks he's badass. Thinks he's hard. He thinks he's double hard because he's he'll drink your blood and eat your bones and bite your face off and all. That's like he's not. He's probably soft as shit in real life. He just got this persona of being this badass. Thinks he's cool. It's just awful. It's become a meme of himself, and it's dreadful to watch. For him, for the AEW sort of fan to be that far behind this guy, it's delusional. Like he's sort of, it's like forgive the pun, John. It's almost become like a cult of personality for this guy. Oh, we're not watching, we're not behind him because of how good he is in the ring. When like, oh, look at him doing all this crazy stuff. He's sticking skewers in his head, and like having a fight with people and bleeding, disrespectful to the business.
Mm-hmm.
Literally not hiding the fact that he's blading, like, doing a blade job. He bleeds, walking to the ring. Like it's just awful. It's absolutely shocking. Not to make it onto my list. He was one of the first names on there. I'll probably get to the end of the list and be like, oh, I'm worried why I didn't put him any higher. But he's just a glorified deathmatch worker who just got a bit lucky with the way things fell. And I think when he came away from that Shield and started doing his own stuff, and then started giving his own ideas to
Mm-hmm.
Vince and the creative team in WWE, they realized really quick that this guy just stinks. Like he stinks the gaff up. Like we don't want him. I don't think they couldn't wait to get rid of him. Couldn't wait for his contract. Or couldn't wait for an excuse. Or couldn't wait to release him. I don't think they could. He's just yeah horrendous in the ring. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that the fans now get behind him so much. Hugely overrated. Hugely overrated. Yeah, John
Um,
Moxley, number 5.
Again, not going to disagree with you. I'll talk more about Moxley later. But yeah. I mean, yeah. We'll wait until my section. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Crack
so
on. Yeah.
my number 5 is, again, it's sort of a left field one, and again, just remember, justifications are everything, and it's actually JBL. And we're talking about not Bradshaw. We're not talking about Justin Hot Bradshaw. We're not talking about Bradshaw from the Acolytes or the APA. It's specifically JBL. Okay? Let me talk through it. Just let me talk through it, okay? Before you go fucking crazy.
I mean, I'm not saying anything. I'm waiting for you to try and justify this. Go on.
Right,
Back
okay,
on.
so so when he first debuted, I debuted as like Justin Hawk Bradshaw. Yeah, it was a shitty gimmick, but it was a tribute to his idol. Yeah, it was Stan Hansen. If you don't know who Stan Hansen is, he was one of the best Japanese wrestling history. He was a 10-time world champion. Okay, so it was a debut to
Tribute.
tribute. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you to him, and he was hard hitting. It's like the Bradshaw that we know. Okay, like the Bradshaw. Yeah, that's the early stuff of him. I love Bradshaw and the Acolytes. Him and Farouk. I love Bradshaw and the APA with Ron Simmons. I just think the character, you saw it move with the industry. It's like, you went from the sort of hokey time to like the Attitude Era to like the less Attitude Era. Him and Ron Simmons or Farouk, they were a reliable tag team. They could work with anyone. Big, hard hitting fuckers. Loved it. It's like, loved the hard hitting stuff. And then it was the limo with the bullhorns. Like, I personally don't think he ever deserved a world title, right? I didn't buy into this Texan version Ted DiBiase. It's like $1 Million Man. He was good in the mic. He was good in the mic, but I didn't buy into it. I thought he was a great upper mid-carder. Like, he would have been a fantastic Intercontinental champion. He was a great tag team wrestler, as I've said before. I think it's very similar to Kofi. It's because of his years of service and loyalty to the WWE. But again, you said it yourself, there are other people that sort of, I feel, probably could have deserved it more or got more of a push in place of JBL. And I think Paul Heyman said it best at that ECW One Night Stand. The only reason you were WWE champion for a year is because Triple H didn't want to work Tuesdays. So yeah, like I say, I love Bradshaw, right? I love Bradshaw. It is the character, the specific character of JBL. I just didn't get it. Now, now, don't get me wrong, right? See the feuds with like Eddie Guerrero and stuff, and the Mexican type thing. That was really cool. That was on the nose, right? It's pulse of the nation at that point. Still a really contemptuous area to talk about. But yeah, for me, I just didn't get the switch. And it wasn't just a gradual thing. It was sort of like, right, Bradshaw is like smoking cigars, playing poker in the back, and then bang, he's a millionaire from the Fox network. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, I just didn't get it. And again, this could be more me than JBL, but yeah, that's sort of my justifications for it. Excellent, one of the best tag team wrestlers, hard-hitting motherfucker, but the definitely upper mid card, but for me, I just don't see the world title. I just didn't get it. Come on, give it to me.
Fuck me, mate. So, like, I don't even know where to start with this. So,
I can't
it's
wait till
giving
later
me,
on. This is going to be good.
it's giving me a fucking aneurysm. This, right? What what does a heel need in order to be a good heel? Doesn't matter. Talk about champion, talk about JBL, whatever. Talking about heel. What do they need to get? What do they need
They need
in
the
order to
heat.
be a
Of
good
course they
heel?
do, right?
They need heat. Okay. So Kurt Angle wasn't there. Big Show wasn't there. Lesnar had fucked off. Stone Cold had gone. The Rock was in Hollywood. Taker was doing Taker things, right? This guy came along with this gimmick, and it's all about timing. Wrestling's all about timing, right? He came along at this gimmick with this gimmick at the most perfect time, the Eddie Guerrero situation. Like he knew exactly how to talk himself into heated situations, get
Great
the
on the
heat. He
mic.
talked himself into the matches. He talked people into the arenas. He got huge heat. He nearly got arrested in
Mm-hmm.
fucking was it Germany or something for desecrating the flag or something like that.
Do
Like
you not do the goose step?
or doing mad shit.
Yeah.
He used to do mad shit. Like he was getting heat. He was playing it. I don't like using this term. I said it a couple of times last week, and when I listened back, I got a bit annoyed with myself. I don't like using the term character, but he was playing this character. He was this persona. Like he he had some really good hard hitting matches. He was a big guy. I do have to laugh about the whole not working on Tuesday thing because it's just amazing. But for you to say that he didn't deserve to have a WWE Championship run, I think it's ridiculous. Like the feud he had with Guerrero was incredible. The Gusher, that match, was it No Mercy or whatever, when like in Guerrero got that Gusher, like this like, big matches. He made John Cena as well, and I know he wasn't a WWE champion at the time or anything like that, but he had unbelievable feuds with Rey Mysterio. He made John Cena with that. Was it the US title match he had with John Cena? Like just incredible stuff. The ECW One Night Stand pay per view, the fight, the Blue Meanie shoot,
Blue
like
Meanie,
the
yeah.
promo, like all that sort of stuff. He knew, like just looking at him annoyed you, and for you, just he came out and he just looked like a dick, and he had the horns on the limousine, like he'd done his job. And for that reason, to annoy you, he cannot be overrated. But for me, like no chance. As you would say, Human Shields, no shot.
No
No
shot.
shot. He's heat magnet.
It's like
Incredible.
it's like you say, wrestling is all about timing, right?
Yep.
I totally agree with you. He was definitely a champion of circumstance, right? All those names that you mentioned there, you know, your Kurt Angles, your Takers, your Brocks, whatever. If they were there, he wouldn't have been considered in the World Championship picture. So for me, I just didn't get it. I just didn't see the transition from being this sort of mid-card tag team wrestler to be catapulted. Now, I know, like, being a mark is like, I understand that the business reason it was a necessity, right? They needed to have someone there. But for me, just because of that, for me, he's just so overrated. That particular character, I just didn't get it, Hoxie. So for me, that's why he's on my number 5.
Crazy.
Okay, so yeah, that's my number 5. I think it's on to my number 4 now. Okay, and I don't know if you're going to be pissed at this one or not, to be honest, and I don't know if the listeners are either. But it's the first female we've talked about. Okay, and it's Mercedes Moné or Sasha Banks.
Oh, she was very close to making my list.
All right, okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
So
very close. Go on.
So I'll keep it short and sweet, okay? So if you don't know who Sasha Banks is, she was one of the 4 horsewomen in NXT, along with Bayley, with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Now look, Sasha, the gimmick was brilliant, yeah? The boss, absolutely amazing. She looked impeccable. But if we look at the 4 women individually, we look at Becky, we look at Bayley, we look at Charlotte, and we look at Sasha, for me, those other 3 are the better wrestlers. They're the better sports entertainers. I think she was the weakest of the 4. I think being related to Snoop Dogg helped her to get into the position that she was in. Again, I'm just shooting, right?
Yeah. I agree.
Basically, she left WWE because she started to believe her own self-importance, and that's why she was gone. She left with Trinity Fatu, and obviously Trinity's went into Impact. I just don't get it. I mean, the rumor mill's going. It's been going for a while. She's going to go to AEW, and I think she probably will after she gets into sorted from her injury. It's I think it's an absolute lock that she's going to go to AEW.
Yeah,
but I really don't think she's going to be that.
Wembley, she sat in the crowd at Wembley. For fuck's sake.
She's done that a few, right? She's done that a few pay-per-views, but I don't think she's going to be as much of a needle mover as people think, or as she thinks that she's going to be. I think Britt Baker's better than Sasha Banks. The improvement Britt Baker's made.
I think she has more appeal in the grander scheme of things. Yeah, she's probably got more upside than Sasha has.
Yep.
Sasha's had her opportunity, and she hasn't achieved what she probably should have achieved. But I don't think she would have ever achieved it. I agree.
No. But yeah, so that's my number 4. Just nice, short and sweet. Is Mercedes Moné or Sasha Banks?
Yeah, I agree. She's too small. I'm not one to shit on smaller wrestlers. Eddie Guerrero was my number 10 last week. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not that guy at all. I'm not. If anything, looking at my list of overrated people, most of them are giants. So it's like, it's not one of those things. She when she's wrestling, if she's wrestling a Charlotte, or she's wrestling at, imagine her in the ring with Mercedes Martinez or Rhea Ripley. You can't take that seriously. It's like we're like throwing a child around. It's not nice. Like, it's not like. I agree. She started believing her own hype. She started sniffing her own farts, basically, and yeah, definitely overrated. She was in the mix for me. I took her out because it's like a bit of a non-thing for me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was 2 women on mine, so one was her, and the other one was China. So if we're talking about sort of women who were going to make the list, they were very close to making it, but there's just other guys above them.
Fair dues.
I feel more cool. Cool.
So over to you, Mr. Hawks. Your number 4.
My number 4 is Kenny Omega. I do not get it. Don't get it. Never have done. Never will. I've tried. Believe me. Everybody who's listening, Shields, believe me, I've really tried with this guy to sort of understand what it's all about. And this is going to sound really strange. And this is based off what lots and lots of people who I've heard have said, lots of wrestlers who I've heard say in interviews and podcasts and whatever. Oh, you don't realize how good he is until you're actually in the ring with him. So I probably will never find that out because I'm never going to wrestle him. Like, it's one of those things. Like, Jericho said it, Moxley said it, Daniel Bryan said it. A few guys in Japan came out and said, like, we didn't really see it with him there until he started that whole cleaner gimmick and we started wrestling him. But I just don't get it. He's changed the business for the worse for me.
The issue I've got with that comment, right, in terms of you don't know how good he is until you're in the ring with him. But you're not doing it for the 2 of you. You're doing it for the wider crowd.
Yes. You're doing it for the paying public. Yep.
It's like...
Yep.
That's crazy. Sorry.
Makes no sense, right? No, I agree. John, I'm agreeing with you. It makes no sense. Makes no sense to me. He always... If you look at his great matches, I'm not talking about like, oh, look at his V trigger that he's hit. He's hit 12 of them and he's finished. Oh my God, he's amazing. Like, the moves do not make a good match. Stop fucking thinking about it in that way. Every great match he's had, it's been with a dance partner who has got that from him. Yep. The Okada Omega trilogy, it is probably 80% Okada to 20% Kenny. He's incredible. The Will Ospreay matches that he's had. Now, you can talk about them doing flippy Vernon Schneider in the 500s or whatever. That's fine. Like, you're going to get that. That's the way the business is nowadays. but there is actual real story and psychology there if you look deep enough and you sort of scratch away the surface. The match he had with Daniel Bryan on Dynamite, was it the Grand Slam show that they did? That's one of my, this will come up in a future episode, that's one of my favourite matches I have ever seen in my entire life. And it is all because of Daniel Bryan, 99% because of Daniel Bryan, because he got hold of what Kenny can do amazingly well and just let him do that. He was calling every single part of that match. He's done nothing in the major markets. In Japan is Japan, right? The Bullet Club thing would have worked. You could have replaced Kenny with somebody else in that position, and it would have done the same thing, and it would have had the same outcome. And that wrestler A's title runs would have came out of that situation if you put another decent wrestler in there. He's came to AEW thinking his farts, and you look at the actual metrics of it. You look at the numbers. People turn off when Kenny comes on. He's had to go away and like set his own belts up with little trios championship belts with his little mates just to try and get like in the mix with stuff. You look at the ratings; they show a decline when he is on the television. You look at the buy rates of the pay-per-views, which he is. When you strip away the earlier ones, like when the sizzle was all there for it, he hasn't made any money really. He hasn't changed. He hasn't gone from like 800,000 viewers to 1.5 million viewers with him as the champion. It didn't move. If anything, it got worse. So I don't get it, mate. I do not get it. There will be people who will listen to this who will see his name on this list and Moxley's and be like, this guy doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. Do you know what? Those are the people that I want to listen to this podcast so they can learn some shit. Basically, Kenny, for me, easily on this list. One of the first names that I put on there. I do not get it. He's massively overrated. When you're wrestling in fucking war or whatever it is, the crazy stuff over there, and you're sticking your fingers up people's asses and wrestling blow up dolls and kids and stuff. Fuck off. Go away. Get in the sea. Get in the bin. I don't want you anywhere near my business. See you later. But for that reason, Kenny Omega.
I think it's a very fair. Now, it might shock you, but Kenny's not on my list, right? And he was one that I had in, I had out. I changed my list 6-7 times. It was ridiculous. And I think the reason why there's one. Okay, I need to try and get my words in order here. So I'll always remember Kenny Omega, when he was feuding with Jericho, and there was I don't know if you remember it. They were fighting through the arena. And it was,
is this in Japan or
no?
This
is in AEW, yeah.
Right.
And
okay.
This just shows how much of a disconnect that Omega and Page and Bucks and Tony Khan has. Right. There was a bit where they left the ring, they're fighting through the crowd, and he knocks Jericho down or something, and there's a broom, right, and then he starts sweeping. Right, no context, absolutely nothing. Now, obviously, we know because we watch a lot of wrestling. We know the background, right? He's the cleaner. That's what happens. But that's the disconnect that they have with the wider wrestling population, right? And they'll say, well, that's not who their target audience is, and that's absolutely fine. But if you want to grow as a business, you need to try and target that market, yeah? You need to, the casual wrestling fan. They don't know why he's fucking sweeping a broom. They don't know about his gimmick in Japan being the cleaner. It just doesn't make sense. What I will say is, I think if you look under all the bullshit and all the jazz hands, big shout out to Jim Cornette, Kenny Olivier, right, there is some talent there, right? I get the impression, see if he went to the Performance Center, right, the WWE's Performance Center, I think he would improve so much. And again, this sounds really, really, again, but we're going to get crucified by the fucking AEW marks. It's I think his game would tighten up so much from having actual professionals that have main evented. Can you imagine him being tutored by Shawn Michaels? I mean, look at the improvement that fucking Logan Paul got from Shawn Michaels when he had one-on-one training, right? Can you imagine someone that Kenny Omega, who, for all his flaws and for everything, it's just he sort of understands modern wrestling, right? He knows this sort of little niche of the market, the AEW marks that I said before. Can you imagine if a bigger superstar, someone like a Shawn Michaels or a CM Punk, could have helped him with?
It's maybe in 2004
Yeah.
or whatever, 2005, maybe.
But you know
Not
what I'm getting
now.
at, though, yeah? Not now, he wouldn't do
No.
it, but
He's a
just,
talented guy. He can do
yeah,
all the stuff.
that's
He
what I'm
can
trying
do
to get
all.
at. He is
He
talented. I
can.
mean,
I tell you what, I'm gonna steal a really good line from some very, very, very good comedians from back in the day. He's playing the right notes, just not necessarily in the
in the
right
right
order.
order. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Now, there's lots of wrestlers like that who do that nowadays because that's the way he's in the camp. He's in the elite. He's in there with the Bucks and Paige and all the cool kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to provide an alternative to the WWE. Whole thing AW was set out to do. That's why Cody's not there anymore. He they by their own admission recently they are wanting to provide an alternative to wrestling,
Yep.
professional wrestling. He's more interested in doing moves off fucking Tekken and Mortal Kombat and all these crazy Japanese video games that he seems to like a lot. Like he's not interested in putting bums in seats and selling pay-per-views and selling like and getting TV ratings and actually growing a business. 850,000 people in America that want to watch him and his little mates wrestle, and they're happy with that.
Yep.
They will never, ever, ever grow that doing what they're doing now. He is absolutely terrible on the mic. His promos are, if you can work out anything that he's saying or trying to say, like you know what I mean. Fair play to you. They're ineligible. How ironic is that? You can't understand what he's
Irony.
fucking saying. Yeah, yeah.
It's warrior.
Amazing.
Do I know something? It's very extreme, but it's warrior levels of what the fuck are you talking about?
Yes, yes. Very,
Yeah.
very. I just he's like I have watched Kenny Omega matches recently. The one he had with the one at Wrestle Kingdom that he had at the start of the year was just incredible. And then they had the one on the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, which was just mental. I loved both of them. I prefer the first one. I think the story of the first one with the way they carried some of the sort of the moves and the selling and that through the match, I thought was better. But for me, like he's just massively overrated. He's had good matches. It's always been with specific people. He can't go in there with anybody and get a match from anybody. He has to wrestle his way. He has to do all of his shit. He has to get his shit in, and it's just he's a star. If he wants to be a star, act like a star. Treat yourself like a star. Don't be 20-minute TV matches with guys from the indies just because. Like, go in there and beat people. You are a star if that's what you say you are. Just go and do it. For me, nah. Just get in the bin.
I always think if you're talking about a star, right, you're wanting someone that makes you money, that draws you money, right? And at the end of the day, they'll pass it on, but they can always come back and lend a hand to the younger generation of wrestlers, you know? Triple H is doing it, HBK is doing it, Taker comes back, you know, Rock and Stone Cold, people always listen to him, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, you know, those sort of people. They'll have that impact, you know, because they're that star. I don't see someone like Kenny Omega coming back and people taking him seriously, because I don't think he will. He's in it for him, you know. How much money can he make? You know, it's let's make my art. You know, again, quoting Jim Cornette, it's like I want to make my art. So I totally get where you're coming from in terms of overrated. I totally agree with you. He's not on my list.
He's not a wrestler. He's not a professional wrestler. He does whatever it is that he does. He's like his own
moves.
little brand of stuff. Yeah, I hate it. I hate it.
Fair dues. Okay, moving on swiftly to your number 3, Hoxie.
My number 3, his name came up very recently in this last conversation, is the Ultimate Warrior.
Okay, yep.
I have one word to say with the Ultimate Warrior. That's dexterity. The guy he's mental. Absolute Fruit Loop. He never was interested in the business. I don't think he ever wanted to be a wrestler. I think he just got lucky one day with his mate Sting in the gym. There is a massive sliding doors moment as well, by the way. Um, they could have went to either promotion. So Warrior could have gone to WCW and Sting could have gone to WWF. It's a really famous story.
Jeez.
I'd love to have a conversation about that and do a little bit of a deeper dive into
Yeah.
that. But um, I just think there's a huge sliding door moment there with the business. But this guy never wanted to be a wrestler. He was always just the body guy. He got spotted in the gym and got asked if he wanted to be a go. Like he was just one of them. Obviously, Vince is going to be all over that muscly guy, all oiled up with that hair. Jesus, he had a fucking wet dream. Incredible. He was a terrible person, piece of shit.
Yep.
Allegedly, he was unsafe. He was stiff. He couldn't work a lick. Just absolutely shocking. Everyone says that Hulk Hogan couldn't work. He got the best match ever out of Ultimate Warrior at that WrestleMania match. It's just incredible. Also, the only good thing about the Ultimate Warrior, it's probably the best Native American gimmick in history. I'll let you guys sort of ponder on that for a little bit. When you see it, you can't unsee it.
I think Tatanka or something saying there. Jesus.
I think money made and impacting their business. I think the Warrior. When you realise it's a Native American gimmick, you can't get past that.
I will say his theme tune. His theme tune. Come on, you've got to give.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Promos were awful. Jesus, talking about like not being able to understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. Just absolutely terrible. Just unreal. Just got there on luck and luck alone. Simple as that. Got handed a decent gimmick from the box of gimmicks and just ran wild with it. They done the best they could with him. That's it. Old Jimmy Hellwig was just lucky boy. Shocking. What was it? Dingo Warrior. Dingo Warrior is what you would have been. Yeah, just incredible. Made so much money, just unbelievable amounts of money. As this guy, just being a horrible person, hard to do business with, hard to work with, just a lucky boy. Really, really lucky. He was lucky that people were willing to do business with him around that time, because it could have gone a very different way. You know what I mean? If Hulk was like, nah, that don't work for me, brother. You know what I mean? Like if he just said no, his career would have been completely different. And let's not forget, guys, let's not forget the comeback, that Halloween Havoc show at WCW. Oh my God. Oh, it gives me the ick just thinking about it.
I think Warrior is the benchmark, because we mentioned this a few times. Believe in his own hype. He is the benchmark for that. You know, he truly believed.
I think he believed like he was like the guy, but I genuinely don't think he realized what he was doing in the business. I think he didn't. I don't think he thought he was a wrestler. I think he thought he was like the character. I mean, he changed his name, didn't he?
Yeah,
He changed his
it
name
to
to
Warrior.
Warrior, for fuck's sake. So, like, I think he really thought that he was him. Not, he didn't think he was a wrestler. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, this is the point that I'm making. Yeah. Just human dog shit as a person. There's a specific listener that love that reference. Just an dexterity, and he used to swear in front of ladies, and nobody wants that. But yeah, get in the bin. Ultimate Warrior, my number 3. He had to be towards the top.
Yeah,
had to be towards the top. Yeah.
Okay, my number 3, and this is where we're going to fall out. My number 3 is Cody Rhodes.
Fuck off.
Yep.
Fuck off. Go on.
Right, okay.
And then I'll tell you why you're wrong. Go on.
Right, so Cody Rhodes is just another one. I just don't get it. Well, no, I'll tell you something. I do, because his name's Rhodes, right? If he wasn't Dusty's son, he would be a mid-card talent at best, right? In my opinion, again, this is all opinion-based, guys, okay? So I look forward to getting absolutely crucified in the comments. In my opinion, he's average in the ring, he's average on the mic, he's got an average look, he's average, average. He is simply the third best Rhodes behind Dusty and Dustin, and if I'm honest, he only narrowly beats Brandy's. I just don't get it at all, right? It's just fucking horrendous, right? Everybody goes on about his story, right? You know, it's like, think about Cody's story, Shields. It's fine, right? So let's talk about his story, right? And you can tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm right. So he was chosen early. He was chosen early in his career to be a star. It was out with his control, right? He became an Intercontinental Champion. He was part of a stable. He tried his best to deal with some really bad creative in WWE, yeah? He leaves the biggest company in wrestling, still is the biggest company in wrestling. He then goes into the indies. He makes moves in the independent scenes. It gets to the point where everybody's talking about him. Yeah, it makes it impossible for WWE to ignore him, right? And he comes back to a brilliant reception, right? Is that his story? Yeah, really? Hoxie, is that his story?
Are you reading that message that I sent you months ago when we had this massive debate about this?
No, but so you'd agree that's his story, yes?
There's more to it than that. There's
No,
more to it than that.
But again, just for timing's sake, try and keep it down as quick. That in a nutshell, that's his story. Do you know that's the same story for Drew McIntyre? And Drew did it first. There's nothing new about it. There's nothing new about Cody Rhodes, right? He's in the position he's in just.
And what happened? And what happened with Drew? He came back and won the WWE Championship.
Exactly, yeah. And
yeah, because it works. You got to go away and learn a new hold. You have to do it.
Nah, he's basically.
You know what I did, John? Do you know what I did? I went back through our WhatsApp conversation and I searched for a couple of keywords that I thought would be in my massive fucking message that I sent to you, and I found it. Found the message. Okay, you want me to read this message? I'm going to read this quoted verbatim. So I wrote. I was sat on a fucking bench at the gym when I read this to you. When I sent this to you, so it was really quick and really fast. So he's handpicked as the next bunch of young workers after wrestling in Georgia and benefiting from the Runnels surname. Trained in developmental and talented, but hamstrung by the fact his surname is Runnels. So he gets a load of like, oh yeah, well he's a Rhodes. Like, that was a bad thing for him. It wasn't a positive. He had plenty of potential, but always was kept down regardless of opportunity and excelled at everything. Knows it's never going to happen. Workout decides to do what all the great workers do in their runs. They go and learn a new hold. He enters the indies, becomes fucking unstoppable, creating unreal characters in NWA, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Ring of Honor. Gets involved with the creation of AW and just absolutely smashes it out the park with 99.9% of the shit that he did there. He has some of the best stories and the best matches. The fucking Dusty and is probably one of the best matches AW has had ever. Goes into Hollywood doing the TV show with fucking what's his name, Snoop Dogg and all them, that reality show. Rubbing shoulders with Shaq, creates his brand. He lays the foundation for Big Trips and Vince to notice that he is exactly what they want in a star. So this is what the WWE want now with their champions. They want people who are going to transcend, who are going to cross promote. They're going to go into these different platforms. That's exactly what he did. He manages to save face on his exit from AEW. So he wasn't just like, oh, I'm just going to leave. Fuck you guys. See you later. He done it in the most classy way possible, right? I thought he manages to save face on his exit with AW and all the cunt kids and leaves. Enters WWE in one of the most anticipated returns in years. He works hurt, really hurt, and as a Barner after Barner with everyone he's wrestled. He's got shit on from Great Height and Mania and is still a star as Brock's best feuds since his return, working from underneath as a badass, brawling, storyline psychological matches, and gets the rub from Brock in the middle of the ring, totally unplanned. And I finish with a question, and you don't get it. So that's what we got. So that's what I messaged. I don't understand the hate, John. I'm not like a Cody Rhodes mark.
I still don't give a fuck. He doesn't do anything for me, honestly. Look,
boggles my mind. Boggles my little brain.
he will
I'm
get the
rubbing my
title.
eyes, John. I'm rubbing my eyes right now. I can't even see you.
Is it the tears, the bitter tears?
Salty tears are rolling
It's salty
down the
tears, right? The story's going to end, right? He's going to get the title, but as I said before,
Is he? Is he?
well, he'll
We've
get it
got
eventually.
LA Knight, haven't they? We're going to get it eventually. Yeah, when
He'll
he
get it
comes back in
eventually.
10
But
years.
to be honest, who cares? Like, I wouldn't have been surprised. See, when he came in, he won the Rumble, and then he went to WrestleMania. He should have won it then, right? Because he was riding the wave.
Yeah.
I think what they've done now is they've diluted him down by winning the tag team championships, losing the tag team championships as well. It's like, it's just meh. It's like, again, is this down to the booking side of it? I just don't get Cody Rhodes. You know, he wasn't a star when he left WWE. He's a bit more of a star now, but he's just, for me, not. You know, it's.
I think when all's said and done, when we look back at like some of these wrestlers who you might not have liked at the time, when we look back and think, do you know what, actually, he was really good. I think you're probably going to you're going to have that epiphany moment, you know, that light bulb moment in 10, 20 years time when you look back on what he's done and what he was doing and think, do you know what, actually, yeah, okay, fair enough. And I'll be there to say, told you so.
Well, you know,
Fuck
Mark
you.
out of 10 is going to be now here for all eternity, Hoxie. So, you know, if
Yes.
I look, and I'm big enough and
The
ugly
annals
enough.
of time, right?
Yeah, if I'm big enough and ugly enough. If you know, he does something that I go, do I know something? Fair enough. I'll come on this podcast, right? and I'll apologise to the Rhodes family. I'll apologise to you, and I'll apologise to the Mark out of 10 audience. That's what I'll do. But
There you go.
I don't think it will happen because fuck them.
Oh,
So yeah,
dear
that's
me.
my number 3. Okay, but surely you're thinking now, well, wait a minute. If he's number 3, who's his 2 and 1 then?
Who is 2 and 1? Yeah, because I genuinely thought he was going to be nailed on number 1, mate. So you've piqued my interest at least.
So-
And I guarantee when everybody else who's listening has chilled out from screaming at the radios or their phones or their whatever they are, wherever they are, saying, "What the fuck are you doing, John?"
But you know, this
I
is
think
what
they're
it's all
ready for
about.
it as
It's
well.
where opinion matters and it means absolutely nothing exactly at the same
Nothing
time.
at the same time. Love it.
But yeah, so guys, if you agree, disagree with me, make sure you leave it in the comments. But my number 2 spot, the Spot Monkeys have made it to the list. It's the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are just fucking awful, man. I don't think there's any other way to describe them. I mean, there's actually people that refer to them as like saviors of professional wrestling. It's like, and to those people, I simply say, with all my Scottish wisdom, fuck off. Saviors of absolutely hee-haw, right? Like, people talk to them about, like, oh, their work in Japan. Like, yep, they won the big, the heavyweight tag team championships in Japan once. They won the junior heavyweight tag titles 7 times. I don't care, right? Don't give a fuck. Constantly flipping, they're somersaulting, they are the reason the super kick is no longer relevant in wrestling. Okay? You can remember back in the day with HBK, Sweet Chin Music, it could come out of nowhere, but he tunes up the band, etc. But they throw super kick after super kick after super kick. And every single match is the same with the Young Bucks. Every single match, right? They're really athletic. They can perform their moves brilliantly. Give them a 10 for their flow routine at the Olympics, right? Fucking fair play to them, right? But dear God, they don't sell worth a damn either, yeah? It's like, the words just can't come out my mouth, Hoxie. It's awful. It's like, all the Young Bucks matches is spam kicks to their opponent and they don't sell. That's their wrestling characters, yeah? They've done it. As I say, they've ruined super kick. Nobody can use it as a legitimate finisher anymore. It's, you know, and what's mental is, like, you know, the Canadian Destroyer's going the same way because everybody and their granny's using the Canadian Destroyer. Super kick gone. Super kick is dead, right? They believe their own hype. You know, they think they are literally the pinnacle of pro wrestling. You know, it's been well documented. They like have snubbed some, you would say, legends of the business like Booker T, RVD, CM Punk. You know, most recently. I think for me, what's really concerning is, like, you would think by looking at them, they're not trained, they just do moves, but they are. Like Ron Rivera trained them. Yeah, he trained Scorpio Sky, Shelly Martinez and stuff. If I were them, I'd ask for their fucking money back. It's like, what the fuck is going on? They are the skid marks on the underpants of professional wrestling. They should fuck off, never return. I hate the Young Bucks. Overrated. Done.
Okay.
See what I feel.
Human dog shit.
Awful.
They are human dog shit as actual people as well. They are horrible, horrible people who pass themselves off as a God-fearing people to make themselves feel good about themselves and to try and give this facade of like actually being nice people when really they're not. They're just horrible pieces of shit. They have ruined what the wrestling business is. They've ruined what people's thoughts of the wrestling business are. They've changed the way in which people view the wrestling business now. Or I say the wrestling business, just wrestling, pro wrestling, professional wrestling. To think that that's the way that it should be done, or that's the way it is done, or that we think it should be done, and that's the way it needs to be done forever. And fuck off, fuck off. I can't stand them. I can't stand their faces. I can't stand the way they think they're 12 foot tall and built like brick shithouses. I can't stand the way they don't sell anything. I can't stand the way Matt Jackson does his stupid comeback in every single match where he does that little flip through the ropes and the backflip and the Meltzer driver and the sucking Dave Meltzer's dick and just PWG. Bleh, bleh. Fuck off. Go away. Go away. They didn't make it onto my list, John.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'll be honest. They're my honourable mention.
Right. Okay.
I didn't want to give them the actual satisfaction of being on any list. The only list I won't go there, but they will not be on any list of mine apart from people who I hate the most in wrestling. Probably.
I knew where that was going there.
Yeah. Stop myself. I've done all right there because it would have been a bit of bleeping or a bit of a fast forward. So, I hate them. Hate their faces. Hate what they've done.
Yep.
Just horrible. Go away. Just leave us alone.
Go away.
If you wanted an alternative to wrestling, it's not even go away heat, mate. It's not like, oh god, like I can't be bothered with these. It's I hate what you are. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want to see you on my television. Even the FTR stuff, like FTR are probably one of the best tag teams of all time. They're definitely the best tag team in the world right now.
Yep.
I don't think it's really close.
Nope.
Like the way that the books of, that whole situation is just utter bullshit. They've denied it from the fans when they should have done what they needed to do, the business that they should have done with FTR. They forced FTR to go and wrestle on Ring of Honor and indie shows to be able to show people what they actually meant and what they can do. Like it's just ridiculous, horrible. They've ruined the wrestling business. Yeah,
ruined tag team wrestling.
Yeah, ruined tag team wrestling. The way that they think that's meant to be, disrespectful. Like you say, just not listening to people, finding their own way of doing things. I agree. In the world, we need change. We need updated stuff. We need, we need to sort of grow and move on. But they've shit on everything.
Like I agree with you, right? You need it to move. You need it to go on. But the premise of wrestling will always remain the same. It's a good guy versus a bad guy, always, right? That's booze and yays, like you said it last week, right? It is the fundamental of what the business and the industry has been built on since its inception. Okay, it's
it's life.
Life. Exactly.
That's what wrestling is. Wrestling is just another
Batman and Joker.
You need a good guy. Any sport, any film, any TV show, any play, any book, just in the street, some knobhead in a shop who's been a dickhead to somebody behind the till. Like it's good guy and bad guy. Like you want the person behind the till to knock the person out, the dickhead. Like we have this every single day. That's what wrestling is about. It's feeling and being connected and emotionally connected and having personal issues draw money, like whatever. Like you need to have that connection with people. good guy and bad guy. It's not bouncing around on a trampoline and making people go, whoa, ooh, oh, wow, look at him. He's just done it like a fucking Vernon Schnavitz for fucking 80 India, whatever. No. Look at what MJF is doing right now. He got a body slam over. The fucking was it a kangaroo kick? Like
clothesline.
He does
a double clothesline.
A double clothesline. They are three of the most basic moves in wrestling, and they are more over than every single AEW match that's like on the card every time. And because people connect and people feel something, you need to feel things in wrestling. That's why I feel so passionate now in my and the same with you, Shields. Like our description of the hatred that we have for these, I feel it. It's visceral. I feel it's coming out of me. Yeah.
But what I want to say, right, is so this is more to the listener than to you, Hoxie, but there's not an overall disliking for the elite, right? Because I think we both can agree that Adam Page and Kenny Omega, if they never had a mic in their hand again, that would be fucking fantastic. But in terms of being in the ring, they're generally okay. Like Kenny Omega more so, but Adam Page has his moments, right? There's just no endearing quality to the Young Bucks when they're in the ring. I remember I was in Edinburgh and they were in a Ring of Honor show at the Corn Exchange, and literally I was like 2 rows from the front, and every single time they got the tag, it was Nick, do something cool. Matt, do something cool. It's like, fuck up, will you just tag and get in the fucking ring and do something, you fucking reprobate. It's like, I don't want you to do something cool, just get the hot tag, fucking get the finish going. The match went on like for 20 minutes too long. It's like, yeah.
Gotta get the shit in, mate. Gotta
fucking
get the shit
Young
in.
Bucks. You know, and we're not just copying Jim Cornette now. Jim Cornette, you know, has his flaws, but Jim Cornette is on the money when it comes to the Young Bucks. Yeah, I don't know if you agree or disagree with me there, Hoxie.
I agree, 100%.
You know that there's things that maybe I don't agree with what Jim says, but at the same time, when it comes to the Young Bucks, he is on the money because he knows tag team wrestling. Okay, for all his flaws, he is a legend in terms of tag team wrestling. He knows what it takes. He knows how to get champions over. And even if he did like the Young Bucks, I don't think he could. I don't think he could get them over.
Yep. Because the way they present themselves,
exactly
what they do. Yep.
So that's my rant about the Young Bucks over. Your number 2, Hoxie, before we go into our honourable mentions. Number 2.
I've just done my honourable mention, mate, so it'll be yours, basically. Yeah. My number 2 is Goldberg.
Okay,
173-0. Multi-time champion. Dog shit. Just terrible. Couldn't work a lick. He had 3 moves. Dangerous to work with. Just ask Brett. Microphone non-existent and/or terrible. Just refer back to the William Regal match, where he just like absolutely made him look like an idiot, and just not on purpose, just by actually trying to have a wrestling match with this guy. He was shocking. Like he beat Hulk Hogan at the Georgia Dome for the chip in front of like 30,000 people or whatever. Like the guy was drawing money. Like I get it to a certain degree, but like how just because he was booked to win 30-second squash matches for X amount of months. It's crazy. You could do that with somebody who was actually talented. Imagine how much money they would have drew if it was somebody who was actually good in the ring. I mean, I knew it was a big guy. Like he just cookie cut. He was a Wish.com Stone Cold basically. With 30-second matches, just massively overrated. And when he came back the first time, you talked about him punching the window and like nearly killing himself. Like the matches he had were just awful. And then he came back again and nearly killed the Undertaker. So for that reason, he's definitely on this list. But just awful. I get it, but I don't get it as well. Just how he managed to do what he did and the longevity he's had is just fascinating. Absolutely fascinates me, and he had to be towards the top of the list for me just because of how big of a star he is and how bad he was. He's just Ultimate Warrior level bad for me. Same category. Yeah. So Goldberg number 2. Yeah.
Fair shout. Again, can't disagree with you. He was on my list. Granted, he was a bit further back, but You know,
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting, I think this goes for any of the top tens that we do, like in the past and also in the future. It's a case of, if you look at these lists, they could be changed at any point. You could you could swivel on a sixpence and change them like in the next hour, you know. And yeah, I think there's been one or two this evening that we disagree with, which is absolutely fine. But I think on the whole, yeah, I don't think we're wrong at all. So anyway, moving on. So we're going now on to our honourable mentions. So obviously we do from 10 to 2, and then we have an honourable mention, someone that potentially should be on the list, but we couldn't find a way of slipping them in. Hoxie's already discussed with his Young Bucks pick. My honourable mention is someone that is not a wrestler. Okay, so remember we said stars. I didn't say wrestler. It was overrated stars, and I think it's more relevant to today's business than anything else. And I'm going to go with Tony Khan. Okay, I hate it. I hate it when you have a bit of silence there, Hawksy. But
I'm taking it. I'm taking it in.
Taking it all in.
Sometimes I take it in like pure shock, in a bad way. Sometimes I take it in pure shock in a good way, and sometimes I'm just thinking about it. But yeah.
Yes. So my honourable mention is Tony Khan. So I've got a few, like I've wrote a few sentences about it. So I'm just going to sort of read it off the page that I've got here. So what I think about Tony Khan, he's the male Dixie Carter, but with a little bit more knowledge of wrestling. But what they say is true. A little bit of knowledge is really dangerous. The way I think about Tony Khan is he's like a kid that's playing GM mode in SmackDown versus Raw. There's no real long-term planning. There's no storylines. There's no that he's directly involved in. You know, Punk and MJF. That was them. That wasn't fucking Khan. Yeah, he wants really desperately to be one of the boys, and at the same time, he wants to be an alternative to WWE. So there is business acumen there. He doesn't get to where he is without having some form of business acumen. But he's so desperate to be liked by the Bucks and Omega, and to have the crowd pop if he comes out. You know, that's what he really strives for. Forget the business side of it. He knows that he must know that what he's doing is not right. Yeah, in terms of the way he's running the company just now. What the issue I've got is he wants to be an alternative to WWE, but the way it's looking, it's becoming more like the end of life of WCW. It's putting friends over. It's putting people that shouldn't probably be in there. You know, it's, in my opinion, Tony Khan's not the saviour we need or we actually want. What he is, he's just simply a guy with daddy's checkbook that wants to be the next popular and be the next popular guy and be the next Vince McMahon, but he doesn't have the brains or the backing to be the next Vince, who, for all his flaws, is a wrestling genius, and he ain't no genius. So yeah, Tony Khan's my honourable mention of most overrated person in the business at the moment. Thoughts?
All Tony Khan needs is a booker.
Yep.
So there's a massive difference between funders, bookers, and promoters.
Yep.
They often get like mixed in together. Oh, he's the promoter, so he's doing this, and he's the book, so he owns the place, so he's doing it. Whatever. All he needs is somebody with a really, really good wrestling brain, and he's had people, and he's got people there.
Yep.
Who he could link in with. There's other people out and about who aren't attached to any wrestling company right now. Who he could get involved with.
We mentioned Jim Cornette. We've mentioned Jim Cornette. It was well documented that Tony Khan reached out to Jim at the very beginning of AEW, yeah, and Jim told him where to go.
I think he knew exactly what was going to happen because he knew who was going to be the fucking EVP. So that's the issue. And there's one of the main problems is the people who he surrounded himself with.
Yep.
That's why Cody got the fuck out of Dodge. That's why he got out of there, because he could see what was happening. He knew what was happening, and he knew he wouldn't be able to do anything about it. So he was like, okay, see you later. I'm off. Bye. If he had somebody with a really, really good wrestling brain and somebody who could write really nice, not mark booking, because that's what Tony Khan is doing. We're all marks. Everyone wrestling, even the wrestlers, they're all marks because they're in fucking wrestling. 99% of them.
Mm-hmm.
We're all marks, but he books what he used to do when he in his bedroom,
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
ECW and WCW and WWE and whatever PWG. Like, oh, I'd wrestle him. It's like probably what we'll do, like matches we hope we'd
Yeah.
seen or what, you know what I mean? Whatever. Like, he's got the ability to buy all these toys, have them in his toy box, get them out and play with them whenever he wants to, and for good, when it's good, it's brilliant. But most of the time, it's not great.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's frustrating because I got very excited. I am excited about AEW
Yeah. Yeah.
shit all over it, but I got really excited at one point because there was some good shit happening. And it's turning me off at the minute really bad. And I'm turning it off at the minute as well. And I think lots of people are as well. So it's a bit.
Who would you bring in if you were AEW? Who,
Um, if sort of money was no object and I could have access to anybody, Vince McMahon. No, I'm joking.
No
If money no
chance.
object. If I had if I had access to anybody, I would go down the lines of bringing somebody like a Paul Heyman, somebody like a Jim Cornette,
Dutch Mantel.
who isn't gonna, maybe not Dutch, maybe before he was mental, I probably would have had a conversation. Hunter from Ring of Honor, what's his name? Jesus, it's gone. He wrestled as Hunter Ring of Honor. I'm gonna have to Google it. Delirious Hunter Johnston. That's it.
Okay.
Some of the stuff he done in in Ring of Honor, like some of the storylines he done in Ring of Honor was brilliant. He's got a great mind for the business. But you can't. If I could have anybody, it's I would have the North and South version of each other. I'd have Paul Heyman and Jim Cornette on a quote unquote booking committee, and I'd split the roster into two, or split the title stories into two, and have Net do all the the world heavyweight title stuff, and I'd have Paul Heyman do all of the secondary / sort of tag, like not high flying titles, but you know what I mean, those workers title kind of thing. And I'd just split them up and just be like, look, you do you, you do you. Whenever we need to swap it across, holler at me and we'll get involved. I think it would have some great TV, great ideas, and it would make sense and have input from Tony, because some of the stuff Tony does is brilliant, but he gets to a position where he'll do something amazing and then he doesn't know what to do next, and then he listens to the wrong people and it just turns to shit. Exhibit A, fucking Wardlow coming out of the MJF feud. Amazing feud, incredible payoff. What do we do with this guy afterwards? Yeah.
None.
Shocking. Yeah.
So, that's us got through to our honourable mentions. Hoxie, do you want to give us the run through from your 10 to honourable mention? And then I'll do the same, and then we'll go into the number ones.
So, number 10, Stitches, Psycho Sid. Number 9, Batista. Number 8, Lex Luger. Number 7, The Big Show. Number 6, Kevin Nash. Number 5, Jon Moxley. Number 4, Kenny Omega. Number 3, The Ultimate Warrior. Honorable mention of the Young Bucks. And my number 2 was Goldberg.
Excellent. So running through for me, number 10 was Hangman Adam Page. Number 9 was Kofi Kingston, very left field. Number 8 was Goldberg. 7 was The Big Show. 6 was Bray Wyatt as The Fiend. Number 5 was JBL, so John Bradshaw Layfield. Number 4 was Mercedes Moné or Sasha Banks. Number 3, Cody Rhodes. And number 2 was the Young Bucks, with my honourable mention going to Mr. Tony Khan. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'll go to my number 1 and then you can do yours last, Hoxie. So my number 1 is someone that's already been on the list. And again, this was just down to pure positioning. And currently, most overrated superstar is Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, however you want to call him. Can't really sort of... I mean, I'll go through my sort of notes very quickly.
Yeah.
Sloppy, dangerous, outlaw, mud show fuckery. That's the first bullet point that I've got on my list here. It's the only way I can describe Jon Moxley in AEW. You know, it's just not very nice. He's like a moody teenager at the age of 37. He's basically everything wrong with modern day wrestling. It's just it's just not nice to watch. I mean, the latest one of like the chopsticks in his head is just fucking, it was horrendous. I mean, even I'm not even just talking about an AEW. I'm talking about Dean Ambrose as well. If we go back to the WWE time as Dean Ambrose, he was the member of the biggest stable, biggest faction in wrestling probably in the last decade. Yeah, the Shield.
Yep.
And again, very much like I've said before, he was the third best member in that. You know, Roman, who was green as shit, was better than him, and Seth Rollins. Just not a lot else to say about Seth Rollins, to be perfectly honest. He talks about being stifled creatively in WWE. To be honest, if what he's doing now is what he wanted to do in WWE, they were basically saving years of his life. He's like seriously reducing his life expectancy. It's just horrendous what he's doing. As I say, his ring work's really sloppy. Don't like it. Don't believe anything he does in terms of offense. It looks, and I'm going to use the F word that we don't like using in wrestling, it just looks fake.
Yep.
The fact that Tony put the title on him shows that Tony's just a mark, right? He shouldn't be allowed to make wrestling decisions, so this is more of a dig on Tony from my honourable mention. Yeah, so basically, he's the most overrated person, and I can't call him a wrestler in the wrestling business. He's most overrated as John Moxley for me. And again, it just re-emphasises everything you said earlier.
Yep. He was lucky he wasn't higher on my list. I think it was just people above there that sort of, once again, I'll use the term, the impact on the business that they had, the sort of stars that they were. It's the only reason they got to where they were on my list, basically. So he was my number 5. He's your number 1. Like, he's in the mix, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He's in the mix.
Yeah. So the one we've all been waiting for, your number 1, Hoxie. Who is the most overrated wrestler in the business, or the most overrated person in the business?
So for me, and this might, it's definitely going to annoy some people. It's definitely going to be a surprise probably to some people as well. But my number 1, without a shadow of a doubt, is Randy Orton.
Fuck off! There's absolutely no shot.
Yep, I just don't get it. Do not get it. I'm not really sure he actually ever wanted to be in the wrestling business. I think he was just a de facto 3rd generation. Like, he just found there because I just honorably discharged from the army and thought, shit, what the fuck am I going to do? Little disrespectful kid. He is, he's only ever really interested in wrestling when he's motivated to actually be doing something, which is very few and far between. I think he's very lucky to be given the chances and the opportunities that he's had, given the fuck ups that he's done, with all the discrepancies he's had in his sort of career. He gets very lazy with his matches. He gets very, very boring with his matches. I don't think he has particularly great matches. He's got a good finish, the RKO. He's brilliant. Take the RKO away from him. What's he got? What does his matches have? I don't really see it. Don't get it. I think he's had moments in time where he's been dangerous, like really, really dangerous. He's took the piss out of the business as well. I don't know. Can you remember the Mark Henry spot when he does the little jump into the RKO and does his little dance and jumps back up and does the old split leg jump and all that sort of stuff, just making an absolute mockery of the business and shitting all over Christian and Mark Henry, who were in the ring at the time. Remember that? It's not the first time he's done it. I just think he's, you have to be a professional all of the time if you want to be the guy, the big guy. I don't understand, given all the way through his career, how he's managed to stay at the top. It just fascinates me. I just don't get it. I do not get it. I've never seen it. He always had go away heat when he was doing the big feud with Cena. It wasn't like oh my god, like a credible. It's like just bleh, boring, vanilla. Legend Killer stuff was boring. The Viper stuff, I'm a snake, just boring. Get in the bin. Not for me at all. Lazy, unprofessional, boring, and just not motivated. Number 1 all day. He was the when we talked about doing this the other last week or whatever. He was. I knew he was going to be my number one straight away. Never liked him. Never got it. Never understood it. Easy number one for me.
Fucking disgusted. Absolutely disgusted.
I just. Do you want to retort? Want to respond? Or are you just gonna be fuming about it?
I'm going to be both. I mean, Randy Orton will be considered this generation's Triple H in terms of heel.
Oh,
Guaranteed.
God.
His heel work.
Yawning thinking about it.
No, his heel work is, granted, as a babyface, dull as dishwater, right? But as a heel, I struggle to think.
Just by coming in and just RKOing somebody.
No, he's
not even good on the mic. He's not even good on the mic. Give me one amazing promo. Give me one really good Randy Orton promo now. On pipe bomb moment, one so you can pops to you and oh my god, he's incredible! I can't believe how good he is at getting himself over as a heel. Go,
but there's so many of them though, Hoxie. I mean,
no, that many you can't remember any of them. Yeah.
Oh, I'm genuinely at a loss. If every other motherfucker that's been on this list, we've had we've had. I just no. We've had 21 other positions. We'll say 20 on before him, and you put him as number one over fucking the Big Show, the Young Bucks, fucking Gold. No, I'm sorry. No. You need a fucking swift kick in the balls. That's outrageous, by the way. Absolutely outrageous. I'm sorry.
It.
No.
If you were to build a wrestling superstar from the ground up, that would look like Randy Orton. Like, yeah, create a character. Boring tights, boring knee pads. Oh, look at me with my crap tattoos. Oh yeah, I've got an RKO. Yeah, whoa.
I'm concerned about you. Do you hear voices in your head? I mean, are you fucking? I mean,
yeah, and they're telling me that Randy Orton's dog shit.
I'm honestly at a loss there. I genuinely think, like I say,
Randy Orton 5-star match.
You can name any of them with Cena. No. Like the Cena feud is. I'm not even
fucking main event in 73,000 pay-per-views and what else can you do? Boring. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to kick you in this ankle. Okay, I'm going to kick you on this wrist. Okay, I'm going to kick you on the other ankle. I'm going to kick you on. I'm going to do a DDT for the ropes, and I'm going to fly around and dislocate my shoulder and give you an RKO, and it's boring. Shit.
I'll agree. When he was younger, he was an absolute ball bag, right? But
he still is. Boring.
I disagree. I think since he's settled down, not to quote Adele, settled down. His work has got so much tighter. It's so much better. Again, I don't like him as a babyface. I never have. So like when he teamed up with Riddle, it just wasn't it. But his heel work is so good, man. It's like I really fear that he'll come back to face Roman Reigns. If Cody doesn't get the belt, right? If Cody doesn't get the belt from Reigns, Orton will come back if his back injury is sorted, right? But he's going to come back as a babyface. That's going to be the issue, and it's the only way it's going to work. I think that's worse than me not having HBK on my list.
Oh no, not a chance. No shot. No shot, Hugh. No shot.
I'm telling you.
Boring. Just absolutely boring. I do not get it. I do not. Another one. I got in with the cool kids. Got in with the crowd at the right time. Like he's got a decent body. Looks good. Like he's athletic, but it's vanilla. Mega vanilla as a face and as a heel. Just like really boring. The best thing ever happened to him was that little kid punching him in the arm at the ECW show. Fucking amazing. It's just crap. Boring. Don't get it. I've really tried to understand what it is. I had a massive debate. I went to watch WrestleMania in a bar one year. I think it was might have been the Mania where he done that crazy spot with Seth, the RKO, like springboard RKO thing from the curb stomp.
Yep.
And I said something, and the guy behind me heard me say it, and we were talking about it for about an hour. It wasn't heated. It was very close to being heated. I had this massive discussion with this guy, and I was watching the match, and I was telling him why he wasn't very good. Like, I don't know whether I don't know, because people say he's an amazing wrestler. I don't know if, like, I'm not trying to put myself in any pedestal at all in any comparison to any of these guys at all. But from like a wrestler's perspective, when you watch him, he's like really unsafe, really sloppy, really like I don't know, he it's weird. He just doesn't really care about much unless he's in there somebody who he actually probably thinks is a mate. It's really strange. It's really strange. I just don't get it. Don't get it. He's only into stuff when he's motivated. I can't get it, John. There's no real other way for me explaining it than that. I just don't see it. Yeah, I think he is for me the most overrated wrestler of all time.
Wow. I mean, I love you with all my heart, but you're so very wrong. But as ever, that is what Mark Out of 10 is all about, Hoxie. It's all about our opinions. That's what makes wrestling, right? We all have our opinion on something. We all have our favourites. We all have the people we don't really like. And, you know, you'll be judged by the listeners. You've certainly been judged by me tonight.
Yeah,
but
we both have.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I think every single one of us, I think for every single thing we've put justification. As ever, it's all about justification. If we can justify it, this is why we put them in the list. And as I said earlier, we could easily do this list again tomorrow and come up with 10 different names. You know, it's just, that's the nature of the beast. What we are interested in, though, is, as we're just about to finish up anyway, if you guys agree with the lists, if you disagree with the list, let us know in the comments. Obviously, you can email us as well at wrestlemark1010@gmail.com. You can follow us on YouTube, sub to us on YouTube, like this podcast when it comes out, and message in the comments as well. We are on Twitter, Mark_out of10. So yeah, follow us on all the social medias. We're going to try and get like Instagram and stuff set up once we get proper filming. So we're going to potentially do our face cams as well, Hoxie. I think we should try and get that in play in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, that has been Mark Out of 10, episode 2, the most overrated stars in the wrestling business, past and present. What about episode 3? What are we going to do, Hoxie? What do you fancy doing? What are we ranking out of 10?
There's we've had a little bit of a discussion, sort of away from the air. I do like the idea that you put the other day. Do we keep our powder dry, or do we tell everybody what it's going to be? Because I like the idea of sort of the surprise. I'm a big surprise guy, so I don't know if we keep our powder dry and release it. Because what I don't want to do, I tell you what, actually, this is a bit of thinking out loud. I don't want anybody to put anything in the comments that's going to sway my decision for my top 10. So I think we keep it a secret. But I think what you recommended the other day
is going to work.
Is going to be a good thing to look at. But I'm really, really intrigued into people's feedbacks on this list. Definitely intrigued. I think this is more of a discussion starter than the top 10 we did last week.
I think, I totally agree. I think what's really important, though, is we're still friends at the end of it, Hoxie. That's the main thing.
We're not going to fall out over anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Close to Shawn Michaels last week, but we're not going to fall out about anything.
It's fucking close with Randy Orton, but let's just by the by. Anyway,
I'm going to get a horrendous WhatsApp about 5 minutes after we go off the
Once I stop hitting recording, I'm going to fucking give you dog's abuse. Anyway, that is us for this episode. We will be back on episode 3. Make sure you come along. It's going to be a nice surprise, so make sure you're there. From Shields, have a very nice day, and I'll catch you later, Hoxie.
From Hoxie, have a very nice day, evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.